Joined once again by Isaiah Collier. I know he was watching that game last night. What's up, Zay?
Yeah, unfortunately, had to check the game out for work. That's what it felt like. But it's all good. It's all good. It's a great job. Love my job. Can't complain one bit. How you doing, Chad?
I am good. It's funny you say it that way because through the years, there have been occasions where I would say to whoever I'm working with that's a Longhorn fan, whether it was, Trey Elling, Kevin Dunn, whoever it is, I would say to them, sometimes watching that basketball team is work. Sometimes it's not, but sometimes it feels like work. Part of that game last night did not feel like work, and part of it did kind of feel like work. We will get into that. Also, like I said, there are some notes around the NFL. Man, there's just storyline after storyline. I don't know if anyone could pretend to know who the absolute favorite is. Maybe other than the Eagles. I don't think they have an injury that's kind of blinking at you right now, but there's so many pieces being moved around here. Jimmy Garoppolo might be back for the playoffs, but when? And then the announcement today out of Buffalo is massive. The Bills have been hoping beyond hope that Von Miller could play at some point. Zay, it's a torn ACL from the Thanksgiving game, and he's out. It's over. He even went on a podcast last week saying he thought it was meniscus, lateral meniscus. Like he was.
Yeah, you could play through that.
He was trying to talk. Yeah, almost trying to talk himself through it. McDermott says today, no, ACL.
Wow.
So that's going on in the NFL. There's a fascinating few weeks coming there. Cowboys fans, I just don't know. I don't know. Like if you told me right now, hey, do they feel like a championship team, a Super Bowl quality team? My gut says no, but with everything else going on, I don't know who's a sure thing. Other than the Eagles, I would still trust Kansas City, and then as long as Josh Allen can walk, to me, those three teams feel more like championship teams than Dallas, but the Cowboys are right in that discussion.
Well, yeah, you have to say they're in the discussion, and I get where you're feeling. You might have a little PTSD over the last 20-something years, 2-something decades. I mean, with everything that's happened with the Cowboys, all the bad luck, did Dez catch it, stuff like that has you feeling the way you do.
It does accumulate. It does.
I do.
Yeah.
I respect that, and I completely understand that, but the Cowboys are, I think, a top 4 team in this league, and especially with Jimmy G going out. And yeah, they said they could come back during playoffs, but that's an interesting time to come back and try to knock the rust off, especially for a guy that, I know he's in San Francisco, but he's damn sure no Joe Montana. So he's not one of those guys that come off of IR, and then you expect him to play high quality football. I think not. So Tampa Bay's not there. They still got Tom Brady. So of course that scares you also. But yeah, I think we should give more respect to Minnesota. I think we disrespect Minnesota a little bit too much. Their only 2 losses came to the other 3 best teams in the league, the Eagles, and they got blown out by the Cowboys. I think how they got blown out by the Cowboys made everybody just write them off, but it's the National Football League. Yeah. It's a win is a win, a loss is a loss, no matter how many points it is. So Minnesota Vikings, there's still something to deal with, even though Kirk Cousins is taking the snaps. You got to throw the Cowboys in there too. I'm with you on the Chiefs. I think the Bengals are a very scary team. They're creeping up.
Yeah, they are
in
now.
there.
You're right.
With Lamar Jackson now being hurt for the next few weeks. I think they're going to sneak up in that AFC North and take over there and get back to where they were last year, and that's fighting for another Super Bowl title. To fight for a Super Bowl title. So, yeah, NFL, it's brutal. It's brutal. There's a lot of really good teams, and I think the Cowboys are one of them.
And I absolutely am growing to love these 2 extra playoff teams, because when you boil it down to just one team on each side that gets the bye, everything just cranks up in importance when only one team gets to sit. So right now it would be Buffalo and Philly, but it is tight. There's a tie at the top of the AFC. Kansas City's right there with them, and then the Eagles are only a game up on Minnesota right now. So there's a ton of NFL stuff to get to this week.
And I'm not all for the bye week. I think you could lose some juice and lose some rhythm that you had by having the bye week, especially at this time of the year. I felt like that's just another week to add on pressure. So you got to be a really strong, mentally tough team to be a number one seed, get through that bye week, and then have a really good team coming in that just got a really good W in another playoff atmosphere the previous week. So
Right.
that bye, it could be a pro or con depending on the team you are. If you're the Cowboys, I think they are the perfect team to keep on rolling and to play a team like the Buccaneers, or if the Buccaneers completely blow it, the Atlanta Falcons, and then roll into the next week with whoever they played still on that momentum.
Yeah, I would. I'm gonna take my chances with a bye week.
You want a bye week?
I would love a bye week. I've watched enough NFL to know. To me, the bye week normally helps versus hurts. Normally, when teams come out of that bye week, they that rest has done them well.
Was the Rams? Did they have a bye last year?
That I'd have to go. I can't remember who. No.
The Bengals didn't.
No, they were not the one.
Yeah, the Bengals weren't either.
I think you're right. Yeah, right. The one seed didn't win it last year.
It just depends.
It's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot to get to in the NFL, man. We'll do that. But obviously, we'd also need to talk about a game that got away from the Texas Longhorn basketball team. It's their first loss of the year. Let's go spec set piece and talk about what Illinois pulled off last night. By the way, speaking of, your little Austin FC reference there. Speaking of soccer, we got a World Cup report coming for you a little later this hour with Glenn Davis, and it's been going on throughout the World Cup. He'll recap what happened yesterday and set up those quarterfinals. They are ready to go for Friday. Last night, Texas and Illinois, definitely a tale of two games, Zay. It looked like we were going to be able to come in here and talk about another hard-fought Texas victory. I felt like they were answering all the questions. It was a 10-point lead with about 5 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go, something like that. And then,
I want to say it was 10-point lead with about 8 minutes to go.
Maybe eight,
It was an 8-point lead with about 6-something to go, and that's where everything went.
Yeah, up 5 with a little under a minute to go, and just Illinois made plays. They got Shannon woken up just in time. It almost felt like that Texas football game where it was, y'all gonna start handing it to Bijan at some point, and they did it in time to make that comeback and put Baylor away. Last night, I also thought we'd get to come in here and talk about, wow, did they really shut down Shannon to that degree? I know we talked about yesterday, he was averaging 20 a game. He found his way to 16 last night after Texas pretty much shut him down. It looked like it was going to be the whole game.
Yeah, I think Texas blew that one, Chad. I mean, they had complete control over the game in the second half, and everything was clicking. And then all of a sudden, they just made a lot of bonehead plays, especially in that last minute. After Marcus Carr hit that really nice move on playing off 2 feet, which I know Chris Beard loves, but he had that reverse pivot fadeaway jumper to put the score 67-62. You come back down on the other end. Sir'Jabari Rice overly helps, which they were doing a great job helping the whole entire game. Had 5 charges on Illinois, and that comes from great help defense. But when Connie Hawkins has the ball and he is being guarded, he takes 2 dribbles in the lane. If you give up a 2, that's not that bad at that point of the game. Because now you got to go back down the other end. You're going to get fouled. You could be put up 2 points depending on who gets fouled. But instead, Sir'Jabari Rice leaves Jayden Epps, who I think is the player of the game for that Illinois team. I know what Terrence Shannon did in overtime with that 16 points. I know what Matthew Meyer did the whole game by just dominating. We'll definitely get to that.
Man.
But Jayden Epps, the freshman off the bench, he gave the Fighting Illini 31 minutes. And even though he was just 2 for 7 from the field, he had 11 points, and he was putting so much pressure on the Horns defensively with just dribble penetration, getting guys open looks, getting to the foul line, and then Sir'Jabari Rice guarding him. Looking at Connie Hawkins throws not the best pass over Sir'Jabari Rice's head. With Sir'Jabari Rice, you can't gamble.
Coleman Hawkins,
I'm sorry. I'm calling Connie Hawkins old school, right? I'm going OG AVA days, boy. I'm thinking Coleman Hawkins, excuse me.
Sorry.
He overly helps on him. and wide open Jaden Epps, bucket.
That
Now,
was a great sequence for them.
yeah. Then
Jeez.
Tyrese Hunter gets fouled. We know what happens there, which you got to make that, yes. But if you're dealing with cramps at that moment, I'll ask anybody listening right now, you go try with cramps and shoot a free throw. I don't give a damn if you're 90% or not. And yes, he does have to make it, absolutely. No. And yes, old heads are probably like, boy, Zay, you tripping right now, man. I ain't trying to hear that. That's weak. He's got to make the free throw. Of course he has to make the free throw. But again, you go try with cramps. Go shoot free throws, especially in your knees. You have to bend down when you shoot free throws. I mean, some guys don't, but Tyrese Hunter, he does on his. I think that had a little bit something to do with that short missed free throw on the first end of the 1-and-1, which was brutal. They come back down the other end. Sir'Jabari Rice does something that I don't think I would ever think of him doing. He fouls Jaden Epps like 40 feet away from the goal when you're in the bonus. Why are we that far? Chris Beard, I would have been ballistic, but that's kind of on him too. Like, back up. We don't need any dumb fouls right now.
And it felt like he wasn't even reaching there. It felt like he just slipped, right? He kind of lost his feet and fell into him. But you're right, it's because the space was too close.
He was guarding Terrence Shannon, and Terrence Shannon was trying to get the ball from Jaden Epps. Yeah. And Jaden Epps did a good job of kind of blocking out Sir'Jabari Rice to give that handoff to Terrence Shannon. And for one, I don't know why we're denying Terrence Shannon the ball at that point. I want him to shoot at that point. That's not overtime.
Especially that far away, like you said.
Overtime at that point. Let him shoot it. He's not in that rhythm, which he got in the rhythm in overtime for that very easy middle across the lane jumper.
And you're out at, like you said, you're out at 28, 30 feet.
Why are you out there, Sir'Jabari Rice? Why are we out there? That's so dumb. And I know that's probably killing him. He's such a smart basketball player. He's such a good leader. And I know this whole team will get better from things like that. But, man, I've watched this game for a long, long time, Chad. I played the game. That's one of the dumbest fouls at that. You just got to understand the situation. They're in the bonus. They just hit a big-time three. The momentum's going their way. I can't give them nothing. I can't give them anything stupid. You got to know your personnel. Terrence Shannon is struggling at that point. We're not denying him the ball like he's J.J. Redick. We're not going to do that. He ain't Reggie Miller. He's not that type of guy. Let him catch the ball, get down in your defensive stance, and play good D. And if he hits a big shot, he hits a big shot. But we're not going to give him an opportunity for something stupid. Jaden Epps gets fouled. Tough for the freshman. He goes to the free throw line, knocks down both free throws, and I think just that whole sequence from the Jaden Epps 3 to the Tyrese Hunter missed free throw to the Sir'Jabari Rice foul all led to the deflation of the team, which 17 points to their 10 in overtime. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, that sequence was really bad. Bad for Texas. Somebody's already texted in today. Remember, the Specs text line is 337-3776. Somebody texted us just simply, free throws, you got to hit them. Longhorns have hit big free throws in those two big wins this year. They hit them against Gonzaga. They hit everything against Gonzaga. They hit them against Creighton. They did not hit the big free throws last night when they needed to. And by the end of the game, let's see, Illinois had, and they weren't terrific, but as Chris Beard pointed out, they got 31 free throw attempts to Texas's 19.
Yeah.
So it didn't, they weren't able to get as many. Texas goes 68% from the floor, but those big misses in big spots was key. And somebody also texted us, say, this is the third or fourth game Hunter has come out because of cramps. Any concern that this hurts us throughout the season in tight games?
Yeah, big time concern. I talked to Craig Way in between our shows, and he said this is just a problem that he's dealt with. And
to be clear, this one was cramps and not that contusion he dealt with.
Not the thigh contusion, yeah. I texted Craig this morning to make sure that was clear. This was actually cramps this time, and he's had issues with cramps, like a Paolo Banchero. We saw last year he loses like 7 pounds a game. They have to give him different types of fluids that the team doesn't even drink because he just needs that. And Tyrese Hunter, they're trying. I hear they're trying to, make sure he's hydrated and whatnot, but I guess just the way he plays and, he just loses a lot of fluids where it has become a problem. When you start losing games because of it, because you're not out on the floor, or maybe it's an issue because you're missing free throws. Again, I know he has to make the free throw, but you go try. Y'all stop eating bananas, stop drinking water, then go shoot some free throws out there and see how it feels. It don't feel too good. It's not going to feel the same where you're completely hydrated. I'm just saying, but he was doing like high knees at like the 18-point mark, and I was like, uh-oh.
Uh-huh.
Like trying to just like get loose type
Trying
of
to
thing.
keep it loose,
Yeah,
right?
he was doing that, and like with 18 minutes to go, because I rewatched the game this morning, he was doing that in the second half, and I was like, oh, there it is.
Uh-huh.
So, I understand him wanting to be out there, but the guards, they weren't at their best last night. Marcus Carr, 3 for 14. All his buckets were loud because he was talking after every bucket. He had one floater, and he did the hush sign, and the crowd don't like that very much, Marcus Carr.
There were a lot of histrionics coming out of him last night.
Then
Very intense.
Then after that nice move he did to put him up 5 with 1 minute to go, the reverse pivot fadeaway, he did the Dame Lillard what time it is, Cap. And I'm like, all right, Marcus, you're 3 for 9 right now.
And it's not done.
It's not done. Let's relax. Let's not get
that puts you up 5.
Let's not get too cocky. This team, they like to yell. They like to get the crowd up. You see Timmy Allen clapping in folks' face. You see Serge Jabari Rice yelling, yeah, all the time and this and that. I like that. You got to have confidence when you hoop. Definitely, but be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful who you barking at, because those were some dogs over there on the Fighting the Line, and they showed their ass last night. Like Matthew Meyer, he takes Texas personal. Oh my God. He takes Texas personal.
You think he remembers that burnt orange color on the other side?
Yeah. Growing up in the ATX, he understands what it is. He understands that Shaka Smart didn't recruit him probably like he should have.
8 of 10 from the floor, hit all 5 of his threes. They were all huge, and it just, he could not miss. Yeah. Great ball movement to get him those shots. They got him good threes, and he nailed them all.
Chad, I'm not going to lie. I'm not even going to agree with that. He got himself good threes because they were all ISO. He was all just taking – he would look like Luka out there. Just step back jumpers between the legs, crossovers behind the back to the step back. He hit about 3 or 4 of those. No offense was ran. And not only does he take the University of Texas game personally, he takes the Brock Cunningham matchup personally because they used to be teammates at Westlake. So now Brock is playing for the hometown faithful. He's getting all the love. Everybody loves Brock. Fran Fraschilla's acting like it's his son all the time, every time he's doing the game for Texas and stuff. Matthew Meyer, he don't get that love, and Matthew Meyer got rings. He won a national championship with that Baylor squad before he transferred up to Illinois. So he takes that matchup personally. He went at Brock Cunningham multiple times yesterday. And I thought Brad Underwood, even though Chris Beard coached a good game, I thought Brad Underwood coached a great game. And that wasn't necessarily X's and O's stuff, but that was just rotations and putting in the right guys at the right time. Like Harris had some huge plays out there. Number 1 for Illinois with the headband, real long, athletic, wing-looking guy. He had such a nasty block on Tyrese Hunter that pushed them out to a break. It got RJ Melendez an alley-oop layup, and that kind of started their momentum. And he really played good defense on Marcus Carr and Serge Jabari Rice, where, Chris Beard, I thought, should have played Arterio Morris more, who I think had his best game since the Arkansas exhibition. Like Arterio Morris, he hit a big-time 3. He was getting to the cup. He was getting to the foul line. Yes, he had a couple bad turnovers, especially in overtime, which I think he tried to force the issue. And I think there was a certain lineup that Chris Beard just left in a little bit too long. Brock Cunningham, Timmy Allen, Jabari Rice, Tyrese Hunter, and Marcus Carr, they were in there for about 5 minutes until overtime. Dylan Mitchell, who had a pretty solid game, had a nice, nasty alley-oop. I think that was nice. I think he played Matthew Meyer the best on defense. We didn't see him for the rest of the game. Christian Bishop, kind of same with him. We didn't see him much towards the end of the game, too. So did those guys get fatigued? I don't know. Brock Cunningham started in overtime. He was not the same in overtime that he was in the end of the second half. He hit a 3, but he had a big turnover. He stepped on the line and stuff like that. So, it was a good game to learn from. You lost to a really good basketball team, but you beat yourselves at the end of the day.
Texas loses 85-78 in overtime. If you have thoughts on it, let us know. Zay mentioned Harris coming off the bench, and he came up with 2 big blocks for Illinois, 12 for the game.
Yeah.
12 blocks. That ended up being a huge part of that story because it is such a dejecting thing for offense. It can create stuff going the other way. That's one of the ways Illinois kept themselves in a game because to me, for 3/4 of that game, Zay, I kept thinking, Texas ought to be up 15. Texas
I
should be
felt
up
the same
12.
way.
They should be up 16, and Illinois just kept it right there, and the blocks were a big part of
They
it.
went on a 16-2 run at one point, and they were just up 8. And
Yeah.
I'm like, isn't this a 16-2 run? What the hell is going on?
You're doing
I'm like,
the math.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm like,
what-
something
yeah, right.
isn't right here, ESPN. I don't know what's going on. Maybe
Yeah.
y'all have a malfunction, but something's not adding up. And yeah, Jaden Epps came off the bench. Skywalker started. Skywalker didn't have the best game, had 21 minutes. Jaden Epps, who came off the bench, who I think won them the game with his aggression and just his sturdy play. He hit those big free throws and that big three when they were down by 5 in the last minute. Him playing 31 minutes, that's what I mean on the just pressing the buttons for Brad Underwood, where just the coaching rotations, he was playing chess out there, and I think Chris Beard kind of got lost in that a little bit. Not like Chris Beard coached a bad game. I'm not saying that at all. They had a really nice out-of-bounds play where they got Christian Bishop wide open. I like the little reset thing they did where everybody high-fived each other. Holly Rowe was talking about.
I like that.
But I thought Arterial Morris deserved way more than 16 minutes. And I thought Marcus Carr deserved a little less with his 3 for 14 than 36 minutes. And, when you have that talented of a roster, those things are going to happen sometimes.
We will continue to look at this game. A lot of just weird things about that game, and it got away from Texas. Lose it in overtime, 85-78. We'll continue to take your text on that. A lot of reaction coming in from Texas fans. Up next, we will get you a World Cup report with Glenn Davis, brought to you by Daspit Law Austin. We're down to the quarterfinals, and yesterday we told you about that Morocco team. Glenn's got thoughts on that, the historic trip into the quarterfinals for Morocco. And then we'll talk some NFL. Cowboys now concerned a little bit about what they're learning about OBJ, and it's got nothing to do with an airplane flying from Miami to LA. We'll get you the particulars coming up. Glad you're with us on a Wednesday. This is The Horn. All right, this is Chad. Let's talk Apple Leasing. Love my car from Apple Leasing, and you will love the experience. In fact, I got messages of not only around Thanksgiving, but around this time as we're headed towards Christmas, a message from Beth over at Apple Leasing saying, hey, give me a call. Just want to check, make sure everything's going good. Hope you and the family have a great holiday. Just a little personal touch there. And the Easy Lease system, that is certainly a personal touch of theirs because they make it so simple for you to get any car, any truck, any make, any model, whatever you're looking for. They are the ones that are going to go out and look for it for you. Then they bring those options to you. They'll deliver it right to your driveway if that's what you need them to do. That is what they did for me. It's the easiest and safest way to get a new car. Remember, they get the same discounts and incentives that the dealers get, but they're going to pass those savings to you, and they're going to keep the dealer hassles all to themselves. You're going to do the DocuSign process, sign everything electronically, makes things so much easier. Call 346-9977. That's 346-9977, or go to appleleasing.com. Oh, baby, just you shut your mouth. David Bowie and China Girl. Oh, man, this one takes me back to the early 80s. This is right when not when David Bowie was taking off. Obviously, he was already David Bowie. But this is when the David Bowie on MTV thing was really taking off. China Girl, Let's Dance, Modern Love. He was making video after video that they put in heavy rotation.
Is this song offensive? I don't hear it much. Of course, we play stuff on here that's offensive because, come on.
Right. I don't know. I don't know how this song is viewed today. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, because looking at snippets of the video,
I'm saying it's not good. You watch the video. Maybe you don't make that video today. I would have to go back and double check that. But
good song.
Yeah, I never took offense to it, but I'm sitting here as
I'm sure he means well.
I'm sitting here as the white male I am. Now, David Bowie, to his credit, did, not only travel the world and tour the world, David Bowie ended up, dating and, for that matter, married to a lot of different types of women.
Okay, respect.
So there's that song. But remember, he was with, was it Iman that David married? David Bowie married an international model. And they were together for a while. I think it was Iman he married. That was a good-looking couple.
Yeah?
That was a pretty good-looking couple, yeah.
Yo, man, what Jerry Seinfeld say on the show? How can you be racist if you like the race?
If you like the race. Yeah. You can't be racist, right. So David Bowie getting us started today. A lot of thoughts on the Texas basketball game coming in. We'll get you some more of those. Want to remind you the All Flex finalist event at Waterloo Ice House tonight. It's Wednesday night Flex out there at the Waterloo Ice House, 360 and 2222. Thanks to Clayton for having the Flex crew out today. Going to be out there starting at 3, handing out the certificates for the All Flex finalists. Also the live broadcast with Snoop and Zach and the Flex crew. They'll be out there doing call-in starting at 5. Then 7 to 9 tonight is the Wednesday night Flex. They're going to try to get some of the finalists on the show with them. They'll be breaking down the finalist list and talking about all these great players in the area. So that is coming up tonight. We also want to remind you, if you want to help some kids in the community out with a toy drive, we are doing that once again with Total Men's Primary Care, one of our favorite partners around here. We're doing the Toys for Tots drive again the next 2 days, Thursday and Friday. We will be at a different Total Men's. Tomorrow we're going up to Georgetown, and for you folks down south, Friday we're coming down to South Congress. Looking for those new unwrapped toys for children newborn through 12 years old. Or you can donate online through hornfm.com at the events page, hornfm.com. I was shopping yesterday, and I went ahead and grabbed some toys that I'm going to take out there tomorrow as well. Also, if you're like me, and maybe this is the time of year you're thinking about a physical, I got my physical set up at Total Men's in Georgetown. So that's how convenient it is. We tell you all the time, totalmen's.com. You can set it up. So I'm going to do that before the show. So by the time I go on the show, I may know if I'm, physically fit and ready to go.
I hope you're better than OBJ.
Me too. Yes. Hopefully my physical goes better than Odell Beckham Jr. And that is that's a perfect transition for us. So the stories a couple days ago, I can't remember if we talked about this on the show or not, was that OBJ had actually told the Cowboys like he'd rather not take a physical or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm. Suspicious.
So that's kind of weird. Now, obviously, the Cowboys eventually, it's like, come on, man, you got to take a physical. He does, and they did not like what they saw in this physical. So what they're thinking, Zay, is, yeah, maybe he could play for you, but not till mid-January. So the real effective part of getting OBJ, deep down, Jerry knows it's in the 2023 season. Well, Jerry just turned 80. Jerry's not focused on the 2023 season. Jerry is focused on Super Bowl 50. What is this coming up? 57? I think that's right. Bucks 155. Yes. That's what he's focused on. He's not focused on anything besides that. So to me, as a Cowboys fan, I would tell other Cowboys fans, probably need to cool off on the OBJ idea at this point. Looks like he's just not ready to go.
Yeah, if he's not ready, then he's not ready. And I thought it was weird for him to tear his ACL this past January in 2022. And maybe February? When was the Super Bowl? Early February?
Yeah.
Either way, end of January, early February. That that's usually not long enough for somebody to come back and be ready at this time of the year to play this type of sport. So I thought
That's
it was
fair.
weird for him to come back in general and why everybody was talking about it. But hey, he's also kind of a freak of a specimen, so I wouldn't put it past him. But yeah, the results came back and he hasn't progressed enough. So don't waste your time. It's just if you're the Cowboys, everything's good right now, especially on your wide receiver core. Michael Gallup, with the way he played against the Colts, that beautiful goal line fade that he had, and he had that nice other touchdown too for him. He's getting back to form. So with all the good tight ends that you have, CeeDee Lamb's finally looking like a one. I don't think this is the Cowboys' problem anymore. And sorry for OBJ. Maybe the Giants will take this type of risk, but if you're the Dallas Cowboys, there's no need to even play or put attention to this for the rest of the year.
I agree. I think they may need to just move on here and focus in on the Texans week by week, and just try to get it done. You can't afford any oops games, especially these next two. You cannot afford to drop the game to the Texans or the Jaguars. They've got to be focused in these next 2 weeks. Cowboys getting ready for Houston, noon on Sunday. Some other NFL notes. We told you Von Miller's got the torn ACL. That's huge. Out the rest of the year. That obviously will affect Buffalo. Right now, Buffalo is the number 1 seed in the AFC. They would have the tiebreaker over Kansas City for the head-to-head, but they're both sitting at 9-3. So that is still a race to the end. They've obviously still got 5 games to go apiece, so keep your eyes on Buffalo there. Baker Mayfield does find a new home.
Hey, look at Baker.
With the Rams. Now, that obviously isn't going to affect anybody's playoff discussion because the Rams are next to – wow, they are next to dead last in the NFC. I didn't realize it was that bad. The Bears are 3-10. They're 3-9.
Yeah.
Wow. So Baker is going to end up with the Rams and might play Thursday. Do you see that?
Yes, I did.
He might play tomorrow night.
Yeah, study on the plane, dog.
Against the Raiders? Is that who they're playing? Do I have that? Yes, they're playing the Raiders in L.A. So that one doesn't have as much to do with the playoffs. This one does, though, Zay. This Jimmy G story becomes one of the most interesting in the NFC. He may return for the playoffs. It's not a Liz Frank injury. That's what they feared. It is just a broken foot. But it's a basic broken foot in terms of we don't have to reset any fractures. Nothing is compound or twisted or whatever. We can just let it heal. No surgery. So they're looking at 7 or 8 weeks, and the Super Bowl is 10 weeks away. So the thought would be they don't look like they'll have a bye, so they would have to go straight through. So maybe it's divisional round of the playoffs.
That's a tough time to knock the rust off.
Yeah,
that's tough coming off the injury that he has and playing that type of football with those type of just I don't know. It's the playoffs. Just getting thrown into the fire in the playoffs. Somebody that's had a broken foot that has to miss 8 weeks.
And they think Brock Purdy is going to get them there?
Yeah, I don't know who's a free agent. Clearly the trade deadline has come and gone. So, yeah, they're in a brutal situation because QB3, Brock Purdy, hey, if you ask him, he has the confidence that he could lead this team and wins the Super Bowl. So you have that going for you, John Lynch and
he looked good
Kyle
last week.
Shanahan.
Yeah, he looked good last week, and he is a cerebral type quarterback that I'm sure he can figure out the system. Shanahan loves the guy, loves him.
Does he really?
He loves Purdy. And it looked good last week, combining it with their defense. By the way, we forgot the greatest news for them. They got Josh Johnson. What are we worried about? Josh Johnson is a San Francisco 49er. By the way, now the only quarterback to ever play for all 32 teams 3 different times. Josh Johnson. No, I'm just not.
I'm about to say,
no, he's up to 14
Ryan Fitzpatrick
now.
should be
He's
up there.
I think he's up to 14 teams.
Okay.
14, 15, somewhere in there.
Hey, backup quarterback is a good gig in the NFL.
It is.
You can sustain that, which I think that's where Baker Mayfield's going. Once you just start getting cut and then traded mid-season stuff, like Baker, it's not looking too good for him. And if he has the pride to say, I'm a backup quarterback now, and I'll, thrive in whatever opportunity I'm given, then okay. But I think that those number 1 pick aspirations, you're a starting quarterback ship has sailed.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the ocean sail. We don't know where it is type stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right. That might be gone at this point. By the way, Josh Johnson, old school, it's one of my favorites. You know where Josh Johnson played college?
No idea.
You talk about coming from nowhere. San Diego.
Damn, not even San Diego State?
USD, if I'm not mistaken.
They have a football team?
If I'm not mistaken, he was there when Jim Harbaugh was there. That little brief time where he was at San Diego. And then, again, I'll double-check this. I think it's John Gruden that drafted him with the Bucks. Since I'm a Bucks fan, I kind of remember that. I think that's right. So because of Harbaugh and Gruden, he kind of got in the door, and then he has just been surviving ever since. He's been clipboard dude ever since. 14, 15 teams now.
I'm telling you, if you can embrace it, it's a beautiful gig.
Oh, my God. It's fantastic. You'll be able to – you have all that money at the end of it. Hopefully you take care of that part of it, and you'll be able to tell me about it because you will have not taken –
you ain't got no CTE issues. You know, you ain't got to worry about stealing welfare stuff because of your CTE issues. And, yeah, you'll be good.
It's the Chase Daniel plan.
He's a legend.
Yeah. It's the Colt McCoy plan in
Colt
a way.
McCoy, Charlie Batch.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Leftwich?
Leftwich.
Leftwich. We now worked it around into
Josh McCown.
OC gig. Josh McCown. All the McCowns. Just keep naming McCowns. Josh, Luke, all of them. Everyone. All right. There's some NFL for you. Looks like the Cowboys may not be lining up for OBJ. That physical is an important part of it. All right. Coming up at 1, we'll dig back into the Longhorn conversation. They lose to Illinois in overtime last night. Justin Wells of Inside Texas and On3.com to talk about that. Also, we'll ask him his thoughts on the Heisman Trophy, and he's a Cowboys fan, so we'll get his thoughts on OBJ and some other stuff. Up next in the crap bag, I'll try to get you ready for what's coming to Cedar Park tonight. It is AEW. This is The Horn. All right, let's talk sinus and snoring specialist. Dr. Slaughter and his crew can get you feeling better, breathing better, resting better. They got to figure out what's going on with you, though. Is it snoring? Could it be sleep apnea? What about sinus issues, sinus, infections and things? Is it an allergy issue with you, or is it all of those things? They've got to determine that, and then they can go about helping you. Dr. Slaughter prides himself on meeting you in that first consultation. He respects those appointment times because he knows you are busy. My first initial exam, I always tell you it took less than an hour. I'm always amazed at whatever that appointment time is, and then I always take note of when I'm leaving. Always a reasonable amount of time there, but all that great information is so good too. I had the balloon sinuplasty procedure. They got rid of my allergies for good. They can do all of that stuff for you as well. So get on over there. They work with most insurance. The allergy test is done without needles. Make this your gift to yourself this holiday season that you're finally going to get to feeling better and resting better. Call and set up an appointment. 512-601-0303 or go to sinussnoringent.com. It's sinus and snoring specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy.
World Cup updates brought to you by Daspit Law Austin. DaspitLawAustin.com. 512-865-6710.
What drama yesterday in the World Cup, starting with a bold Morocco knocking Spain out on penalty kicks. Spain had 77% of the possession, only one shot on goal, could not penetrate the highly organized Moroccans led by midfielder Sofiane Amrabat. In penalty kicks, Yacine Bounou became his country's hero, saving 2 PKs. First time ever to the quarterfinals for Morocco. Portugal looked at its best in the tournament, destroying Switzerland 6-1. Fans looked on in amazement as Cristiano Ronaldo was dropped from the starting lineup by Portuguese manager Fernando Santos for Gonçalo Ramos, who became an instant World Cup star, hitting for a hat trick. Ramos offers now what Ronaldo can't as a declining superstar: movement, dribbling, threat in the air, finishing with both feet, and pressing play. The 21-year-old had only played 43 minutes internationally prior. This is a different Portugal. Friday quarterfinals: arrested Brazil versus Croatia, Argentina and Leo Messi versus the Netherlands. Saturday it's Morocco, Portugal, England, France. I'm Glenn Davis.
This update brought to you by Daspit Law Austin and Soccer Matters. Monday nights at 7 on the Horn.
This special World Cup 2022 coverage on the Horn is presented by Daspit Law Firm. DaspitLawAustin.com. John Daspit and his firm are personal injury attorneys. They are committed to working for you 24/7. If you get in a car, boat, motorcycle accident, your first call should be to the Daspit Law Firm. 512-CALL-NOW. 512-CALL-NOW. They are bilingual. They'll fight for your right for compensation. That's DaspitLawAustin.com. 512-CALL-NOW.
Rolling through a Wednesday, trying to figure out what happened to the Longhorns last night against Illinois. As far as this song goes, is that Van Morrison?
That's right.
Yeah, another one of those guys. I've never heard anybody that I thought, well, that sounds like Van Morrison, and it's not. I don't know if anybody gets close to him. That voice is so distinct.
Yeah, he looks like he's on acid on this.
How dare you? There was
album cover.
If you're going to insinuate that there might have been acid being dropped during that time period, I will say, how dare you, sir?
Yeah, go look at the Van Morrison, his band and the street choir album.
Hey.
He looks like he's on acid, and kind of like yesterday, it makes you kind of feel like you're on acid just looking at it.
I said earlier that I'm going to get the physical done at Total Men's tomorrow, and for 8 hours I've got to fast. I can only have coffee and water. That's all they had back then. Van Morrison, when they were writing songs, black coffee and water. That's all they did.
Yikes.
No, it was a lot more than that.
It was a ton more than that.
There's a lot in the coffee, though. There's a lot of stuff in that coffee. Van Morrison and David Bowie getting us started today. We hope you are having a good Wednesday. Got that World Cup report to you from Glenn. We appreciate that. Justin Wells coming up from Inside Texas at 1. At 2, it's our visit with Chip Brown. We do that every week throughout football season on Wednesdays. Also, remember, I don't know if you know, Chip Brown is a Heisman voter.
Ooh.
Now, I know we're not going to be able to get his vote out of him. They don't want him to give that up early, but we will get a sense of kind of maybe how he went into the thinking process for the Heisman. When is the vote due and all that kind of stuff. It is a weird year for the Heisman. We'll get Chip's thoughts on that since he's had a vote for a while now. We'll kind of get him to compare it to maybe some other years. That's all coming up. Right now, though, let's get into the crab bag. I'll tell you what I'm going to do tonight.
Chad's crap bag.
Crap bag. If you need an easy way to remember it, just think of a bag of crap.
Brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. Because of the job I have and who I am in general, I am a 47-year-old man that can show up at work wearing a Randy Macho Man Savage t-shirt, and not that many people blink. Honestly, one person noticed today, and it was because they are kind of new. Everybody else is like, hey, Chad, what's up? Which I kind of like. I am going to a wrestling show tonight. AEW is in town. Shout out to our guy, Mark Henry, the world's strongest man, who, if you don't know, is now a part of AEW. He's a part of that Friday Night Rampage show, doing commentary and everything. I think Mark has been able to keep himself out of the ring for the most part at AEW. But I like AEW because it is a great mix of folks you know and folks you're getting introduced to. So you're going to see and hear from Mark Henry. Zay, you've said you're a Jericho guy. Chris Jericho is one of the big dogs at AEW, still getting it done. I think he's into his 50s now, but can still produce a great match and has always been. He'll be able to cut a promo until he's 95 years old.
He's one of the best.
One of the absolute best at that. So those are guys. Early on when I watched AEW, I saw Arn Anderson with somebody. I saw Jake the Snake Roberts as like an older mentor type of figure. But I've also been introduced to, performers like MJF and what's the kid's name? Darby Allin. I think I'm reading tonight is Darby Allin against Samoa Joe for a belt. That should be an interesting match. If you know Samoa Joe, he's a part of AEW. Today is Jon Moxley's birthday. He's 37 years old. You might know him as Dean Ambrose from the WWE days. That dude's in AEW too. They have so much talent. And they've even got Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone doing the announcing.
Oh, that's huge.
If you have not tuned into Wednesday Night Dynamite, it is quite a show. But tonight they're at the HEB Center in Cedar Park. I saw tickets last night for as low as like $32. And if you know that place, you know every seat's a good seat. So get your tickets if you haven't got them yet. AEW Dynamite, and they'll film some stuff for Rampage tonight at HEB Center. I'm looking forward to that one. My man Rick Sacamano and I are going to go check that out. We will be full-grown adult men at a wrestling show. That's happening tonight.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
No, it's not.
Are you keeping the same fit? I'm guessing you are, though. Macho Man Randy Savage.
We're going to keep the Macho Man shirt on. I don't have a ton of wrestling shirts. It was this. The Dusty Road shirt's a little old. I use that as like a yard work shirt now. It's a little old. And then I couldn't find the JYD shirt. It was either Macho or JYD. And I couldn't find my Junkyard Dog shirt. So we're going with Macho.
Yeah, that's right up the street from me. I might have to check that out too.
Yeah, I've never been to their live show. The last live wrestling show I went to was WrestleMania when our man Suplex Stu got me credentialed. Hello, for WrestleMania 32.
Okay.
Undertaker, Shane McMahon, Hell in a Cell, when Shane went off the side of the Hell in a Cell into a table.
Yeah, he's just nuts.
That was fantastic. Because Shane McMahon is the greatest pay-per-view performer that's not a wrestler ever.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's anyone that can compete with that.
Yeah.
He's pulled some things off in pay-per-views that are legendary, and that's one of them.
Talk about making Pops proud. Good grief.
Oh, my God. It's incredible.
Big on the money.
It's incredible.
Money. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have some time to spend and you want to see some blood and broken glass, go find the King of the Ring match with him and Kurt Angle. It is one of the silliest things Shane ever did, and I still can't believe he got dropped on his head that many times. All right, so AEW tonight at HEB Center. I'm really looking forward to that. And again, tickets are available. You can go to allelitewrestling.com, go through that path, or just wherever you get tickets. But that is going to be tonight, so we'll get you a report on that tomorrow. Also, shout out to my man Devon A-Chain of Texas A&M. He says he's going to the draft, and what a way to go out. Zay, I would argue, I don't know what else he could do at this point. He doesn't really know where that team is going, to be honest. Like, he can't guarantee himself they'll be awesome next year. He just finished with 200 and something yards against LSU, 30 something carries. Plus, he returns kicks. He had another kick return for a touchdown this year. He had the big one against Bama last year. I think A-Chain ends up being an interesting back in the NFL. In the right circumstance, that guy can do a lot of things for you.
Yeah, he can, especially how you look at running backs nowadays. Tandem style, multiple running backs, multiple weapons on the team. So I definitely think he could fit in somewhere. And he's smart. When you're a running back, strike while the iron's hot. Understand that if you go play another year, you could risk what we talk about Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson playing in this Alamo Bowl. There's just way too much to risk and not enough reward with anything that could happen. So go get your money and, go coming out your junior year, especially you don't want to come back to College Station. Come on.
Oh, how dare you?
That wasn't even a thought.
How dare you? How dare you?
It was probably either NFL or transfer portal.
There is no need to be rude. There's no need to be rude. But realize, and I'll say it for Longhorn fans, they're thinking it right now too, it's a very different decision. Bijan's trying to figure out, does he want to put just a little short-term tread on those tires? It's one game. For A-Chain, he's got no bowl game. He would literally have to commit to an entire season, coming back. So I totally get it, because he's more of to me, He's more of a Tony Pollard type moving forward in the NFL. You can't walk in planning to give him 25, 28 carries.
No.
I don't think that's how you look at him, but he's versatile like Pollard. He can give you, and I'm not saying top speed he gets that fast, but A-Chain can move. He can go. So
Yeah, I think he could do what we see Brian Robinson doing with the Commanders or Travis Etienne, what he's doing with the Jaguars.
Yeah.
He got hurt. He could be just like those type of guys.
yeah, I'm rooting for him, man, and I will always remember the way he ended. He had every right to walk away. He had every right to shut it all down, and apparently he just busted his ass, worked through that injury, and said, "I want to play senior night. I want to go out and get these seniors a win because we've sucked all year." He didn't say that. I'm saying it for him. They've been terrible all year, lost games they didn't need to be losing, and then they ended up beating LSU. Good for him. Thank God he played, because I don't know what that game looks like if he doesn't.
Yeah, Brian Kelly, you're still wondering what the hell happened that night. I mean, come on. 200-something yards on the ground. I know Daniels was injured and whatnot, but still.
That was a while. That's one of those games. It's like sometimes your team wins a game and you're glad and everything, but then you just sort of don't want to watch it too many times over because you're afraid it might change. Like it might go the other way. All right, so there's some crap bag for you. We do it every day about 12:45, whatever is rattling around in my head. Coming up at 1:30, we'll get you that Flex 30 segment, the All Flex Finalist event coming up tonight at Waterloo. Plus, teams are going for state titles, obviously including Westlake going for 4 in a row. Why is Westlake playing in Houston against North Shore? We'll explain that one. There was a coin flip involved, and the coach Salazar told the station what happened. Told Craig Way on Light the Tower what happened. We'll recount that for you coming up at 1:30. Up next, Justin Wells, Inside Texas on 3.com. We'll talk about Longhorn basketball last night, and then talk some other football stuff as they get ready for the bowl game, and a little Cowboys, because Justin's a Cowboys fan like I am, and like many of you are. Stay with us. This is The Horn. How about hour number 2 on a Wednesday? Do the people know me or do the people know me? Shout out to Bobby, one of our listeners, who knew I would care that XFL 23 has tweeted out the uniforms and helmets of all 8 teams for XFL next year. I may be slightly distracted for the rest of the show. And by the way, it didn't take me long, cursory glance, to tell you, that the Houston team is making one of my least favorite mistakes. Number on the helmet, Houston. No. Why does everybody love number on the helmet? If you're not Alabama or the way the Chargers are doing it, why would you want a number on the side of your helmet? I don't understand that. All right. We've got a lot going on today. Obviously, we started with that Longhorn basketball team. We are efforting Justin Wells right now of Inside Texas. Was he being hard to get?
Yeah, I don't know if the reception's very good in East Texas right now. Who knows?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure he'll get back to us. He's good at calling us back.
Okay, cool. We will assume he gets back to us. You can keep me updated on that. We've talked Longhorn basketball. They fall in overtime, 85-78 to Illinois. And Zay, while we're waiting for Justin, I thought this was important to bring up. It was an important part of the game. So Craig Way hit us up, obviously calling the games. He said after the game, he and Coach Beard were talking about some of the critical parts of the game. When did it get away? And a lot of people have focused on 60-50, that 10-point lead with about 8 minutes to go. Craig points out it was 58-50. Texas had 5 straight empty possessions between like the 10 and 8 minute mark. Then right after that, so the defense holds up there. The defense held up, got stops. Then they get that bucket, and then Illinois goes on a run. So that was a sequence of 5 straight possessions where they get nothing, up 8. So like you and I were talking about earlier, it just felt like, man, this should be more. This should be 12. This should be 14. And the run we were talking about earlier, that 16-2, that was them going from down 6 to up 8. And then it just didn't keep going. That's where because I'm always looking for that 8 to become 11, to become 13, to become bye-bye. And they just couldn't close the door.
Yeah, and they gave up 2 big threes that were before that Jaden Epps 3-ball under 1 minute. It was when Matthew Meyer, he came off a pick and roll, and Brock Cunningham was guarding him. And I want to say the pick and roll involved Brock and Timmy Allen. And both of those guys, with Matthew Meyer being like 4 for 4 at this point from 3, neither one of those guys stayed with Meyer. They just left him wide open. Meyer hits a 3. It goes into a timeout. Another situation happened. It was from the weird baseline angle of the game. Tyrese Hunter somehow got caught helping. I don't know if it was on Danger, but it was on one of the bigs, and they kicked it out to RJ Melendez, and he also hit a 3. And I want to say
that was a big shot.
It was a huge shot.
Melendez had a nice game. You talked about him yesterday. That dude, a lot of X Factor, glue guy kind of stuff. He did a lot of things for them.
Melendez and Harris are both really good players for Illinois because both of those guys are around 6'5", 6'6". Both of them have really long arms, and they caused a lot of problems for the Horns guards. But shout out to Timmy Allen. I don't think we talked about him much at all in that first hour. He was terrific last night.
He really was.
Points. Yeah. He filled up the stat sheet to a T, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. He was everywhere, and you know, that when you have him going 9 of 18 from the field, those guards need to realize maybe I don't have it clicking tonight. I mean, Tyrese Hunter, all 10 of his points came in the first half. He was donut in the second half. Whether that was the cramping issue, I don't know, but that can't happen. He's one of your best players. He can't go donut in the second half, especially with the way that he was playing in the first half. He hit a couple of threes. He had that nice backdoor little layup dunk, and then that was really it. I think he hit a couple free throws, but that was really it. So if he's going to go cold, and Marcus Carr and Sir'Jabari Rice went a little cold yesterday, that's going to be an issue. And Chris Beard, he's going to have to figure out, let's keep Timmy Allen rolling where he can keep getting the ball. Maybe we should have put Arterio Morris back in the game. I thought Dylan Mitchell played really well last night, and he only played Shoes. How many minutes Dylan Mitchell get?
24.
24 minutes, and that's in the overtime game. So the 45 minutes could have been played. He only got 24. I thought he should have played a little bit more, especially with those guys on Illinois. Dylan Mitchell matched up really well with those guys. Terrence Shannon, he's a bigger guard, around 6'6", 6'7". So is Melendez and Harris, like we said. So I thought he should have played more at times. I thought he was the best defender on Matthew Meyer last night. And yeah, Texas, they gave up one in the Garden.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's like a good news, bad news. The good news, if I tell you that Timmy Allen's going to have 21, I mean, he had 8 assists, 2 turnovers, only, a +6 there, 7 rebounds. That's the good news that he got 21. But if I tell you Hunter and Carr won't combine for 21, that's a concern at that point. And you're right. Maybe they needed to take some of those 25 shots between Carr and Hunter and maybe distribute a couple extra to Timmy Allen. Get him 20 field goal attempts and see what happens. I thought it was interesting at one point of the game, Jay Billis literally called for Allen and they went to him. He called for, he goes, maybe, Timmy Allen, though, his ability to cut, maybe you go back to him, and they go right into him and he gets a bucket.
Yeah, he had a beautiful fake spin on Danger, little fadeaway across the middle. Like, when he's going, he has a beautiful game to watch. He hit a 3 last night. He's been talking about in the offseason how he's been working on his 3 ball, and he's going to shoot them when the opportunity's there. He hit one. So, yeah, he's played a lot better these last few games. It's just the guards, they really struggled last night. And somebody on the Specs text line made a really good point. Marcus Carr, at times, he over-dribbled where he should have been working that ball around, and he just had the ball in his hands for way too long. You're exerting a lot of energy doing that. Yeah. And I thought his 36 minutes was a little high for the production that he was putting out on the court. And I thought Arterio Morris, he should have gotten some of those minutes. Arterio Morris was terrific. I know he had 2 turnovers, but he had a huge help side block, which went off Illinois' leg and went out of bounds. That was a huge big-time play. And Jay Wells, who we're hoping to get on now, he said last week, he compared the Arterio Morris to John Moran, which I looked around like, yo, what's in his eggnog? Is he on that scotch right now at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Jay Wells, you're bugging. John Moran, he's one of the best in the league, but that son of a B.J. Wells, he had something saying that. Okay. When I saw that block last night, that's the first thing I thought of. I thought, Justin Wells talking about the comparison to John Moran. It's not there much, but it's there a little bit. Little flash. Okay. Little flash. Kind of like how you have to do Tyrese Hunter with number 11. You got to do about 8 spins. Got to do a shot. 8 shots of Henny. You got to be on one. So I saw a little bit of that last night. Arterio Morris hit a 3, had a nice bucket on Coleman Hawkins, just kind of froze him and went to the cup. He got to the line a couple of times. It's just, when Brad Underwood is believing in his freshman and Jaden Epps, Sky Clark, the other freshman who started the game, he struggled last night. He set him down, gave him only 21 minutes, said, Jaden Epps, you're cooking off the bench. You're going to be able to finish out this game with the production that you've been putting on the table. I thought Chris Beard should have done a little bit more of that with his freshmen and Dylan Mitchell and Arterio Morris last night. All
right, Jay Wells says call him right now. So Justin Wells of Inside Texas, we will try to grab him here in just a second. Yeah, Texas loses 85-78. We've gotten a lot of great response on the Specs text line today. And, of course, Longhorn fans just trying to kind of process everything that was there. Tyrese Hunter going through the cramping issues in the game. Marcus Carr and Tyrese Hunter not having the kind of games that they needed to have. But certainly Timmy Allen did have a really good game, just not quite enough. Illinois made the plays down the stretch, made the free throws down the stretch that were big. We'll talk to Justin Wells about that coming up and get a little bit more from him on a couple other issues. Remember, Waterloo Ice House, 360 and 2222 this afternoon and this evening, 3 to 9. We'll give you the flexibility there. If you're a player or coach and you're looking to get those All-Flex finalist certificates, you can drop by Waterloo Ice House, 360 and 2222. I'm going to head over there when we are done for a little while. And remember, Snoop and Zach are going to be on 7 to 9 p.m. tonight from Waterloo. All right, let's go to the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. It is Justin Wells, Inside Texas, on3.com, and at Justin Wells 2424 on Twitter. Justin, how are you?
Hey, now, I'm doing pretty well, sweating in December. How about you guys?
Yeah, it is a little warm. You getting a little East Texas humidity in December?
Man, at like 100%.
Oh.
Outside, it's 80 degrees.
Ugh.
That is rough. We were just talking about the basketball game last night. Give us your thoughts on Texas, a game that certainly got away from them, felt like they had it, and then they didn't.
Yeah, it was one of those, up 10 with about 7 minutes left. I thought Texas was kind of in control, and then they got really cold. What we saw was just poor execution over that last stretch of time, and I also think Illinois got hot. I think their leading scorer finally started dropping a few buckets right before they hit overtime, and I think he got hot at the right time. But what we saw was the reason they had a hard time scoring last season. When Marcus Carr faces the floor and dribbles, just like a bowling ball into a wall in the paint, and nothing gets created, you're going to have 1 of 7 shooting over the final 4 minutes of the game. You're going to have multiple turnovers, and you're probably going to lose. When they needed to have a closer in that final 5-minute stretch, it's not Marcus Carr. That's not him. We've seen him do that last year in a volume role, and I think that's kind of what happened over the last. They didn't hit some free throws. There were a few things that happened that just went the other direction. They didn't hit some free throws, especially on a 1-on-1 with Tyrese Hunter, but what I saw at the end of the game was what I saw last year, and that's Marcus Carr playing hero ball. And, buddy, that ain't going to win ball games, and not in the Big 12.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jay Wells, because after Jaden Epps makes those 2 free throws, there's about 7 seconds left. And, Coach Beard, you have 2 timeouts, and you just put the ball in Marcus Carr's hands, and you got 6'7" TJ Shannon on him, and he gets off a terrible – well, he doesn't even get it off, but he shoots a bad shot. And that's a situation where I thought you could call a timeout and draw up something and see, all your other looks out there.
I thought that as well. I thought it was weird Tyrese Hunter wasn't handling the ball more. And because they had great ball movement in the first, 10 minutes of the second half. I thought with Timmy Allen finding those mid-range buckets, I think they were making the extra pass. Jabari Rice had hit a 3. I think Broccoli hit another 3. That's how this offense rolls. It's going to be constantly moving with motion. And I understand the final 5 minutes, you're going to need more ISO one-on-ones to create and stuff like that, but that's not Marcus Carr's strength. I mean, you can roll him out to do that, but again, that's not his strength. So I thought getting away from that extra pass and that ball movement by the end of the game was just poor execution.
Well, I think the other thing is that cramping issue's got to come into it, right? I think if there's a completely healthy Tyrese Hunter, that's probably where he goes, Justin. But it's almost like Chris Beard got forced into last year's team in a way because Hunter was unavailable because he's cramping at the end.
That is absolutely a great point, Chad. That's exactly what happened. I know with Hunter cramping up, they had to change up some stuff, but that's not the way to roll. Like this team,
right.
I think Carr is a great player, and I think he's got his strengths, but that's not one of them. And so getting away from that's probably why Texas had their first loss of the season.
Yeah, got to figure out what to do. If that's going to keep happening, if Hunter's going to keep having maybe those issues, you got to deal with that part of it, but you also have to deal with what happens on the floor if he's not going to be available. Justin Wells, Inside Texas, joining us. Justin, what do you make of the Texas-Washington Alamo Bowl matchup? We've obviously got a lot of time to break it down. What was your initial thought?
My initial thoughts were, I think we've talked about this a little bit before. I'm very much I'm team bowl game out of the state.
Yeah.
I think that's the
right.
Listen, the Alamo Bowl is actually a really good bowl game to make, and it's a good experience. But my goodness, get these kids out of Texas. There's nothing appealing about driving 45 minutes down the road to play in the Alamo Dome. But I tell you what, they better come correct because Washington is legit. I believe it's the highest ranked team, the highest ranked matchup, so to speak, outside of the playoff with number 12 against number 20. Texas better be ready. This is a very explosive team. And, the funny thing is they love Texas kids. Looking at the roster, they got a dozen guys that are from the state of Texas, especially from East Texas and the Central Texas regions. And so I think this is a fun matchup. Michael Penix is a great quarterback. I didn't realize how big he was. He's 6'3", 215, 220. I just didn't see the southpaw being that big. Jalen Polk, their star wide receiver out of Lufkin, Texas, him and Jaron Thompson, the Texas safety, are best friends. They grew up together, played high school ball together at Lufkin. Polk actually had signed with Texas Tech under Matt Wells. Tech decided they weren't really interested in him, and so he hit the portal, went to Washington, and become all-conference because he's a dude. And so I like that little connection there. And I like the tie-ins with Sark and PK, formerly coaching at Washington. I think the last time Washington had been in the Alamo Bowl was when Sark was coaching, and it was that Baylor game where it literally turned into a video game. I can't remember the score, but it was just one of those crazy afternoons. I believe it was Robert Griffin's maybe Heisman year. And so there's so many cool little tie-ins and players with familiarity from other schools in this region and coaches' familiarity. I don't like the idea you're playing a bowl game an hour from the stadium. I get that. But, man, everything around this game is interesting, and I think it's going to be a phenomenal matchup.
Justin, with it not being the New Year's Six Bowl, a lot of guys, they might not play in this game. They might, on the other side just because they want to put more film out there for these NFL scouts. Who do you think is going to play in this game and who you think isn't going to play in this game?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one because, we're hearing there might be a handful of guys that decide to sit out the game. It's undetermined right now. I don't want to be real committable on that. I'll say this. Don't be surprised, if the best running back in the country doesn't play in that bowl game. I don't think that should be any surprise. Obviously, nothing's been decided. Nothing's official. But, I would be shocked if Bijan Robinson plays in this bowl game, and for good reason. There is zero reason for him to do that. You've got a couple other guys that are going to be going off. Look at guys going into a Senior Bowl. Look at guys going into the East-West Shrine Bowl, preparing those weeks in training for preparing for the draft. Rashawn Johnson, Keandre Coburn, DeMarvion Overshown, those are guys that you may think about that could potentially do that. And I think they'll announce it on their terms whenever they make that decision to talk with their families. But it's expected in this era, at this time, this day and age of college football. If you've got some guys that are probably going to go pretty early in the draft, the fan in you hates it. You want one more ride. Who wouldn't want to see Bijan Robinson play one more game? And just to see what he could, finish off at Texas. But you have to be realistic. This guy's going in the first round in April, and there's really nothing he could gain from it other than maybe getting a gigantic insurance policy. So at the end of the day, it's one of those things where I think you're going to see a few names pop up, come out over the next, week or so. And I just wouldn't be surprised with some of your bigger names, especially Bijan. I would be really surprised if he played.
Talking with Justin Wells. Justin, I know you are happy right now about your Dallas Cowboys because you don't get to see a 54 very often. Not often do the Cowboys hang a Randy White, hang a Manster on somebody, but they did it last week with the Colts. But now it's the 1-10-1 Texans. We all know what this means. A 1 or 2 point win, probably not going to be enough for Cowboys fans. What does this need to be for you on Sunday against the Texans to let you know the Cowboys are keeping the rhythm going?
Chad, you just need the W. That's all that matters. Get the win. At this stage, I don't have to see Dallas blow out Houston. You know what I like to see? Dallas get a comfortable lead and set starters.
Oh, that sounds good.
To me, that would be so much better than rolling guys out to a 3-point game, in the fourth quarter, and all your ones are still on the field. If Micah Parsons gets 2 sacks in the first half, he should be sitting on the couch in the second half. But it's the NFL, and you got to treat these games differently. I watched Houston and Cleveland last week, and bust their heart. Houston just can't score. Yeah. They've got some talent on both sides of the ball. I really like Jalen Petrie, the safety out of Baylor, but they still don't have their quarterback, their running back, their receiver. They're going to look completely different next year when it's like Bryce Young and Quentin Johnston and or Bijan Robinson. So Houston, just get the W. That's a team they play hard, but they just don't have the horses. Lovie Smith's trying to get the most out of those guys. But I don't have to see a 28-point win. And in the NFL, that's rare in and of itself. I was leery of the Cowboys, minus 11, just because, in the last game, just because you never know on Sundays what can happen. But I will say this for the record. I went to sleep when it was 21-19 at the end of the third quarter. And I woke up thinking, all right, I really hope they close this game out. And when I looked it up and saw what had happened, I was just astonished. Because I thought, okay, I just missed about an hour of a really good time because everybody got involved. But at the same time, they rested a lot of guys too. And to me, that's the key with Houston. Get a comfortable lead, rest your ones, get the W no matter the cost, and get on to the next week.
There you go.
Jay Wells, a little 2-for-1 before we let you get out of here. A lot of Horn fans are very salty that Stetson Bennett got the invite to New York and not Bijan Robinson. Do you think there was a hose job there? And are you good with Ohio State getting the opportunity to play Georgia in the Final Four?
All right, we'll start with the playoff. Ohio State's a really good team. Do I feel like they deserve that spot? It's so at this point. That's why they're continuing to add teams for more. For 2024 and 2025, extend the playoff because it shouldn't be by people's decisions. It should be by what happens on the field. Give them a structure. Win this game. You move on to this round. It shouldn't be since so and so lost and since TCU didn't win the conference, then we got to have these come. That's where you got to get out of it. You got to get away from doing that kind of stuff. And I think that's why you're seeing the extension with the playoff in a few years. But then, Ohio State's a really good team, and they're probably favored in 2 of those games. At least one of them, not Georgia. I don't think they'll get by that. And I think Georgia is above and beyond, better than everybody else. I think the gap between 1 and 2 is Grand Canyon this year. And give Kirby Smart and those guys credit. Now, Stetson Bennett headed to the Heisman. I don't hate it for him because he's the best. He's one of the best players. He's not even the best player on their team, but he's one of the best players on the best team in college football. And let's just keep it real. The Heisman Trophy is not the best player in college football. It's the flashiest quarterback with the best numbers on potentially the best team. It's a quarterback award. It's been 5 years since there's even been a running back to make that Final Five. And that's a joke. And so it's become a quarterback award. And here's the thing. Look at the numbers. None of these guys have had great numbers at quarterback compared to last year or compared to years in the past. I mean, Caleb Williams, it looks like he's going to wind up winning it. His numbers aren't off the charts Heisman worthy. They're great. He had a fantastic season, but it's not Heisman worthy. But again, the Heisman's not the best player in college football. It's the best quarterback on potentially the best team in college football. That's why Stetson Bennett's going to get a seat. Bijan was robbed. Bijan's the best offensive player in the country. I fully feel like he should be there. And if we're going to send the best player from the best team, Jalen Carter should be sitting in New York, not Stetson Bennett.
That is Justin Wells, Inside Texas, on3.com, at Justin Wells 2424 on Twitter. Justin, stay out of that heat. Can't believe I said that in December. And we'll talk to you next week.
Nothing but love, guys.
Thanks, Justin.
Good stuff there. And I like his idea for the Cowboys, though. How about third quarter Cooper Rush snaps because they're whipping them so bad? How about that?
That's the dream.
Can I get that?
That's the dream for every coach.
Late in the third quarter because Justin Wells is lying to himself.
So I know we got to get to a break. So let me ask you this. You're good with the bye, for a 1 seed, but are you good with sitting guys knowing that you're going to make the playoffs last week of the season?
No. Those games, I like them to handle it like they used to handle preseason games. Give me like a half, maybe a drive in that second half. You got to keep that rhythm going. Somebody pointed it out. When we have seen Dak with time off, he seems to come back rusty.
He's not good with time off.
He seems to come back rusty. So for him, I'm with you. Keep that momentum rolling. But in general, if I'm an NFL fan, I absolutely want to see if I can beat, especially since it's only one team now, to get that bye, rest up, there's so many crazy injuries now. You get your guys 1 extra week. I think that's good, but I know what the texter is saying about Dak's side of it. All right, so Cowboys-Texans, remember that's a noon kick on Sunday. We've got it for you right here on the Horn. Up next, let's talk about the Flex 30 games coming up. We still have some area teams trying to go after state titles. We'll set those games up for you. Plus, the All Flex finalist event is happening at Waterloo. We'll give you the details on that, too. Stay with us. It's the Horn. Man, this thing is going. Wow. There's a lot going on there. What's the song called? What's he saying?
Take this torch.
Take this torch. Man, it is fast. That is super fast. Take this torch. Something that fast. Is it Sodom again?
No.
I don't know. Who
Is
it?
he on beat? I don't know. He's just going off. But
Who is it?
Razor.
Razor. Man, they're getting after it. Yeah, it sounds almost like a newer take. I'm not familiar with the band's name. You got a time frame on this?
No, zero
Okay.
time frame.
I feel like this is a newer band that is just sort of maybe paying tribute to back then. I'm not familiar with the name Razor, but boy, that is good, fast stuff. Razor, Van Morrison, and David Bowie have been on the show today. We appreciate all of your texts coming in. Longhorn fans trying to break down that basketball game from last night. Cowboys fans with their thoughts on OBJ. Looks like the team is concerned enough about OBJ that maybe that's not going to happen, because it's not that he couldn't pass a physical, but the physical told them things that, well, maybe you wouldn't get him till mid-November, mid-January. So, Jerry is literally talking about the off week of the Super Bowl. Like, is it worth that to you?
No.
Wow, that's tough. Now, if the Cowboys were locked into a 1 seed right now, maybe you think about it, but
no.
even then,
You got to be super desperate to
Yeah.
want Odell Beckham at this point.
yeah, and they're not. I mean, there are football reasons why the Cowboys may not go win the Super Bowl, but I don't think we'll get there. If we get to that point, I don't think it'll be, well, OBJ was the difference. That's all they needed. I don't really think that's what this team is. But you can certainly give us your thoughts there. Specs text line 337-3776. All right, let's tell you about the event tonight at Waterloo. Let's go Flex 30. Here we go.
Flex ATX for the best high school sports coverage. Listen to the Horn and go to FLXATX.com. Flex 30 is brought to you by Brain Vault. Brain Vault is a revolutionary and patented mouthguard that has been proven to help reduce the risk of concussion. Visit BrainVault.com and join the movement.
FLXATX.com. We had a listener earlier saying, hey, can you read through those names real quick? Man, there's a lot of names on that All Flex finalist list. When you have time, go to FLXATX.com. They are all there for you. Shout out to Derek and Snoop and Zach and the Flex crew for getting that all set up and getting it out there for you. And we're having an event for those finalists today where they can come pick up their certificates, hang out. Our man Clayton's got a food special, dinner special for any student that presents a student ID. So if you are a friend, a classmate of an All Flex finalist, and you just want to come out and hang out at Waterloo Ice House, it's the 360-2222 location. I've been to the Waterloo Ice House, a couple of the others. I've never been to this location, so I'm looking forward to heading over there as soon as the show is done and hang over there a little bit before I head over to HEB Center. So congrats again to all those All Flex finalists. Zay, I wanted to read a little bit of stats that we got sent in by the Elgin coach. So Justin Strong is one of our DBs, and Rod and Harge announced him yesterday as a finalist. Here's what the coach sent us. Shout out to Coach Clausen. Justin Strong, District 11 5A Defensive Player of the Year and first team All-District wide receiver. Led the district in receptions and yards, only playing about a third of the offensive snaps. Defense, 113 tackles, 102 solo, 11 tackles for loss, a sack, 3 quarterback pressures, 4 picks, 2 interceptions returned for touchdowns, 14 PBUs, 3 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. Receiving, 32 catches, 606, 8 touchdowns, and a 2-point conversion.
Damn, what doesn't he do?
Rushing, 5 rushes, 31 yards, 1 touchdown. I like that he just threw that in there. The 6-yard average. He's at a 6-yard average. Passing, 4 of 6 for 122 yards. And just in case we needed it, punting, 33 punts, over 1,200 yards, a 64-yard punt on his ledger, and 9 inside the 20. Oh, my.
Wow.
How about that?
That's an impressive season. I thought you were going to go on the say how many popcorn sales he did because he was
Right.
doing that on the side too at halftime.
Yeah.
He was selling popcorn to people. And
Did I mention the trumpet solo during the band's performance? Also says that Strong's getting serious interest from Rice and Baylor. We wish him nothing but the best, and we hope he is able to get to that next level and go play some D1 ball. That's exciting stuff.
I don't care if you play the third of the snaps. You know how in shape you got to be to do all that and to be top tier as a defensive back and then also be first team all offense.
Right.
That's so impressive.
That's amazing, man. We were talking about it. Snoop and I were talking yesterday about guys that are still to this day going both ways. He watched a kid in, I guess it was the quarterback who was one of our quarterback finalists, the kid from, I guess it was it the Liberty Hill guy? I think you were saying the Liberty Hill guys who we were talking about, or the Wimberley kid that goes both ways, that still plays like on defense and still is able to go.
It's incredible.
That's nuts. Speaking of Wimberley, they play Friday at 3 o'clock, Alamo Dome. If you want to go support the Texans, they play Cuero. Liberty Hill taking on Port Neches Groves. That's 7 o'clock. They're over in Katy at Legacy Stadium. That's Friday. Then Saturday, those Vandergrift Vipers. I'm hoping they can get by Katy. It's going to be tough, though. Katy and Vandergrift, 1 o'clock, Alamo Dome. We'll see if Vandergrift can get to their first state title game. And then Galena Park, North Shore, and Westlake. 3 o'clock kick at Rice Stadium on Saturday. And today's day, Coach Salazar was on the show like he is every day. Every Wednesday, he's on Light the Tower on the station, on the Light the Tower show with Craig and the guys. And he explained that in the end, they needed to be able to determine where the next game was going to be, even before they played Brennan. So they ended up with a coin flip, and they just lost it. The Westlake and Brennan said, all right, if the winner of our game wants Alamo Dome, and North Shore and that other team said, we want Rice Stadium, after going through other stadiums that they didn't agree on, and they literally flipped it on a Zoom call. They flipped a coin on a Zoom call, and the winner got home team and the stadium of their choice.
Wow.
So that's how they end up playing in Houston. If you're wondering, hey, wait a minute, Galena Park, North Shore, that's kind of a Houston area thing, right? More Houston certainly than this. Yeah, you're right. So in this round, I don't know if they let you do a true home and home. I guess you could, but nobody would risk that.
No.
You can't risk that. In a state semifinal, you can't say, why don't we just flip true home and home? Because all you need there is for one coach to go, no. One out of those 4 coaches has to say, oh, no, that's crazy. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
So that's why they're playing at Rice Stadium in Houston. And, of course, Westlake going for another state title. I'm really interested to see what happens there. The fact that they've had a couple different quarterbacks playing these last couple games is interesting here. This is not a definite, Cade Klubnik kind of situation where you've got a badass quarterback that's for sure going to the next level. Land's been good, but he's also been replaced these last couple games. I wonder how that's going to play out in a semi.
Yeah, that is interesting. When I think of all this coin flip stuff, it just makes me think of Billy Bob Thornton, Friday Night Lights, when they do the coin flip and he tells old boy from Fast and the Furious, he says, I don't know what he says. He looks back at him before he flips it. He says something motivational like, I always live life on the edge. Flip. Okay, now, like that. So I just picture Coach Salazar saying that to Paxton Land or Jeff Kaiser or something that on the Zoom call.
That is funny. Yeah, I'll admit I have not seen the series or the redone movie. I haven't seen the old movie either, right? Because that's
movie.
Hang on, what am I?
What are you thinking of? I only know one movie and I know one series.
Okay. The movie is Billy Bob Thornton.
Correct.
But then the TV series is that other dude is the coach.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the guy.
Kyle something.
And our guy from Tokyo Drift, he's in the movie or the show?
He's in the movie.
Oh, he's in the movie. See, that's another reason I need to see that movie.
Yeah, he's great.
Okay. All right. I got to check that out. Yeah. No, I know what I'm thinking of. The Billy Bob Thornton redo I'm thinking of is Bad News Bears.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen the redo of Bad News Bears.
Two completely different movies.
Two different things. Yes.
Okay. Somebody on Specs text line, let us know.
Okay.
Curses ain't real. Flip.
Curses ain't real.
I don't know if he asks them that in the car. Well, you haven't seen it, so you don't know what you're talking about.
I'm
but
sorry.
They just lost a big game. They're going to do the coin flip because there's a 3-way tie. He's running with the quarterback. The quarterback just got his head taken off in the last game. Like Carson Rail with his weird country accent, Midland, Odessa accent. And yeah, I don't know if Billy Bob Thornton says anything until the coin flip. And it's like, curses ain't real. Flip. Legendary. That is legendary cinema right
Hey,
there.
remember our guy from Tokyo Drift? We had his birthday the other day. He's an Alabama guy, born and raised in Bama. That's a legit Southern accent.
That's a legit Southern
Yeah,
accent. He did a
absolutely.
good job.
All right, so there's your all flex segment. We do the Flex 30 every day at 1:30. And remember, coming up on Tuesday, the announcement of the first all flex team. We'll lay more out for you this week about how that will be done. That will be next Tuesday. So stick with us there. Up next, where are we at in society? Zay will let us know. And coming up at 2:05, we're going to talk to a Heisman voter. It's Chip Brown of Horns247.com. He can't tell us who he voted for because they'll take the vote away from him. But we will talk about the Heisman, get his thoughts on these four guys that are up for it, the four quarterbacks up for the biggest award in college football. Stay with us. It's The Horn. Oh, little funky town for the people. This one just sticks in your head once you learn it because it's a one-hit wonder. I don't know anything else.
Talk about it.
Has to be the only song they ever had. There's some old dude right now that brags about being in Lips Incorporated. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Lip sync.
Lips Inc., ladies and gentlemen.
Watching the video now, everyone's on acid.
Actually, for this one, I think it might be just lots of Coke. Lots of Coke. Razor, Van Morrison, and David Bowie have also been a part of the show. All right. We've got Chip Brown coming up at 2:05 to talk Longhorns and some other stuff. He's also a Heisman voter, so we wanted to get his thoughts on that. Longhorn basketball last night, disappointing loss against Illinois. They had it. They had it. I'm not saying you'd rather get, systematically beaten in a game like that. You wouldn't, but it was there. It was there to be taken. Texas just wasn't able to close the door. We've been talking about the reasons why today. Coming up at 2:30, we'll tell you about why today matters. December 7th wise, you history buffs know why December 7th matters, but it is also the birthday of one of the great basketball players of my life and of all time. We'll talk about him too. Right now, though, let's go where are we at in society and see what Zay's got for us.
Where are we at in society today?
Zay, I see something on my Twitter. Am I supposed to look at this?
Yeah, check it out.
All right. Here
Multiple
we go.
videos because this came out about last week when I saw this. It was a weird video. When it first came out, everybody thought it was real. Now, Drew Brees, he is in Venezuela trying to promote this PointsBet USA, which I want to say is a betting site. And in that part of Venezuela, I want to say they have like the most lightning strikes in the world.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So who even knows if he's in Venezuela at this point? Because in the commercial / video that you see Drew Brees getting struck by lightning, but it's not real.
What do you mean it's not real?
It's not real. It's 2022. Somehow people just have the science and technology to make things look real and the skills, and they make Drew Brees look like he got struck by lightning.
Wow.
You watching the video?
I'm watching. Hang on.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up.
Okay.
So, because I'd heard this story just kind of on the side. I didn't really do any research on it to see what it was, but that somebody had said there was some reference to Drew Brees getting struck by lightning.
Yeah. So it was fake. Somehow it's a promotion tactic. There's another video out there where Drew Brees looks like he's in an emergency truck and he's like not being treated by anybody, but it looks like he just got struck by lightning. Like he has black on his face and stuff. It looks like he's been through war. And it's weird because he's rocking this Atlanta Falcons looking jersey when really it's just a PointsBet USA jersey. So all of that's fake. And now people from the Lightning Strike Survivors International isn't liking this. People who have actually been struck by lightning is coming after Drew Brees talking about, yo, dog, this ain't cool. You Westlake mayonnaise breath eating. We don't care who you are. This isn't funny. Don't joke about things like this. We don't care if you're trying to promote something or not.
The people in Venezuela are not going to make Westlake comments like you do. You're inserting that into the story. That's what you're doing. You don't need to do that.
Sorry about that.
But yeah, so then I'm also seeing the side story where Darren Ravel people are trying to defend him and say, wait, Darren Ravel did not get duped by this video. I guess something else happened. So the bottom line is Drew Brees did not actually get struck by lightning.
No, Drew's just fine.
Okay. But then he just happens to go to one of the places in the world where the most people get struck by lightning, and then he's trying to promote something else, but all they can focus on is the lightning thing.
Correct.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now they're pissed at it.
Swing and a miss.
Oh, man. That is rough.
Which this is, I don't know. It's a little much. I don't know what point Pro Sports was trying to get at with this. I don't know what Drew Brees was trying to get at with this. I don't know if he had to go all the way to Venezuela to get the point out there, but
wow.
Yeah, I think it clearly backfired.
I just love in this story, somebody also inserted that Michael Vick Powerade commercial. Remember where he was throwing and they would hit the receiver and the receiver would fly about 10 yards down the field? Dude, that is crazy. Why would you put out a video where, that is so strange. Like, that's so weird. I did not realize that story was fake. I heard somebody talk about it earlier. Oh, man, Drew Brees got struck by lightning. I was like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
I would have thought I would have heard a little bit more about that if a Hall of Fame level quarterback in the NFL, especially one that's from literally right here in our area, had been struck by lightning. That would have been an awful story, but if he survives it, obviously that would have been an incredible story of like, oh my God, let's talk to Drew Brees. Somebody get him on SportsCenter so we can hear that story.
Yeah, especially on camera. Like he gets struck by lightning, but we got it on camera. You know, that's what was a little fishy about it.
Oh, yeah, you're right about that. No,
Like, okay, Drew Brees gets struck by lightning. Okay, that's very sad, clearly. But the fact that it was on camera and stuff, it's just, yeah, I don't know what they were trying to do.
because there is I hadn't thought about it, but yes, the fishiness of, wait a minute, you just happened to be filming him when it happened? See, had not.
Yeah, nothing happened to the cameras or nothing. We still got all the film. Oh, that's fine. All the equipment's fine, but Drew's not good.
Oh, wow, I have not I've not followed this story close enough. I got to look this stuff up. Oh my God, blast former.
Yeah, people were blowing up Drew Brees. People thought it was real.
So they literally made a commercial for this. Okay, all right. That is bizarre. Wow. All right, so Drew Brees in a little bit of hot water over that story. I'm not going to make a pun that'll get the people mad at me, so I'm just going to keep going. All right, every day about 1:45, Zay's got something for you. It doesn't always involve a former Westlake quarterback. It just happens to in this case. Most importantly, I'm glad Drew Brees is okay and he's never been struck by lightning.
Yeah, I'm glad he's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now I need to find out because people on the Specs text line are sending me different things. I need to go look at this Billy Bob Thornton Friday Night Lights clip. Now somebody's saying instead of curses ain't real, it's ain't no curses.
Oh, ain't no curse. Okay, you got to get that right.
You got to get that right.
I know. We got to
That's going to drive me nuts.
We got to figure out what it is. Yeah. So, all right, I'll go check out this Drew Brees commercial as well. That's crazy. All right. Up next, Chip Brown, horns247.com. His thoughts on the basketball team from last night. Also, Chip is a Heisman voter. He won't tell us if he voted for Max Duggan, but we will ask him to make the case for Max Duggan as a Heisman winner, and maybe those other three guys too. Stay with us. It's The Horn. Let's go hour number 3 on a Wednesday. Chad and Zay with you. Hour 3 starts with a beat chosen by Zay. What do you got, Zay?
EPMD. So what you saying?
EPMD was one of the artists named by Eminem at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, for real?
Yep, that was in his E section. He just went alphabetically all the way down. He went A to Z.
That's fire.
He mentioned EPMD.
I gotta check that out.
One of the big influences. That was cool. That was a good speech. The performances were really good as well, and his ability to perform that stuff live is amazing. He did a little bit of Rap God, which has some really fast stuff in it. He showed off a little bit of that. It was impressive. All right, so we got a lot of stuff on the board today. Illinois finding a way to beat Texas tonight when it felt like Texas had that game somewhat in hand in the second half, and we've been discussing that. Lots of football stuff, notes from around the NFL, including an ACL for Von Miller, Jimmy G with good news on the foot, and maybe he's back sooner than you would think, but the Cowboys are going to probably hang off on this OBJ thing. He can't, by the way, here's another good indicator. He can't run routes for him right now. He can't run routes for anybody right now. That should probably tell you a little something, too.
Yeah.
All you have to go on is the physical and kind of what you know. So the Cowboys are probably going to have to hold off. They have not officially – I saw Jane Slater report earlier, NFL Network. Shout out to Jane Slater, who does great work. She says they have not offered him at all. They're not going to offer him anything.
I don't think anybody is.
Yeah.
Like, there's no point of risking that and paying them money for nothing on the field. Like, you have to get to a certain point of the playoffs just to maybe see him, and then he has to find some type of chemistry with your quarterback. It just doesn't make any type of sense.
All right, let's get to the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. Not only is he Chip Brown of Horns247.com, get you that flagship podcast, the Morning Brew article. Not only is he at Chip Brown 247 on Twitter, my man still got his Heisman vote, and he's going to help determine who the best player in college football is once again. Chip, how are you?
What's going on, fella?
What's up, Chip?
All right, so Chip, where along the line in the – first of all, how long have you had the Heisman vote, if you don't mind telling us?
Jeez, almost 20 years.
Nice.
Damn.
Okay, so in that time, was there ever a time where, like, they didn't care if you would have told somebody? I know they're real careful about it now. Was there ever a time where they thought, you know what, Chip, you want to do an article where you tell them what your vote is on Thursday? We don't care. Was that ever the case?
Well, I think there started to be this, this sort of straw poll of how voters were thinking, and it became so public that the announcement was anticlimactic. So,
yeah,
I think that came about 5-6 years ago, where they said, you agree not to disclose, your vote. You have to, basically sign that before you submit your ballot. So, it's gotten, they wanted to have some anticipation and excitement around it. And so, I think 5-6 years ago, they really put that front and center.
Yeah, it made sense at the time.
Chip, you said 20 years ago was your first vote. Who was that, or who was the winner that season? And let me ask you, which year do you remember was the hardest choice, where you had to sit down, you saw all the nominations and all the candidates, and you probably took you about an hour or so because you just didn't know who your pick was going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the Vince Young, Reggie Bush vote. For me, it was simple. It was Vince Young. If you took Vince Young off of Texas, that's a completely different team. If you took Reggie Bush off of USC, they probably are still playing for the national championship because of Matt Leinart, Lendell White, Dwayne Jarrett, all the studs they had. And, this year was a tough one, because you look at the year that, Caleb Williams had at USC, you look at Stetson Bennett and the fact that the guy was an afterthought, led his team to a national championship last year. You're not supposed to make it a lifetime achievement award, but the fact that his team is still undefeated and he's been central in Georgia's success. C.J. Stroud, unbelievable numbers, and Max Duggan, good heavens. You talk about a guy who has a story and the numbers. I think, but you had Caleb Williams lose, in the championship game. You had Max Duggan lose. And to me, it's like, no, it's the season. You got to look at it all. And you don't change everything based on the outcome of one game. Now, if it's close, how they perform, I wish we could vote after the playoff and the bowl games, because I feel like if that happened in 2005, then Young would have won.
You're right.
There's no doubt.
You're right.
No doubt. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt there. So then, and Chip, real quick before we move on, do you remember who the first Heisman vote you had? Like, who was the winner that year? Which year?
You know what? I don't, but that's probably because I'm writing another story, and I'm like, my mind is full of names and numbers.
Well, and also, I was going to ask you, do you remember, you mentioned the losses we just saw. I was trying to remember a Heisman list where 3 of the 4 in this case, we just saw them lose. We saw, Williams lose on that Friday night. Stroud loses by multiple scores at home. And then Duggan, it was a hard-fought loss, obviously. But I don't remember one of those happening recently where we would have seen 3 fresh losses for Heisman finalists.
Right. And that's what I mean. I mean, it's and I always wait. I'm always the guy who submits the ballot on Monday, when it's due. And I look at everything. I look at defense. I look at, Michael Penix at Washington. I mean, that guy had an unbelievable year. Took a 4-8 team under a first-year coach to 10-2. Bijan Robinson, all of his incredible numbers, and the way he finished the season, rushing for over 400 yards and 6 touchdowns in the last 2 games, the 200-yard performance against K-State. And, there are times where there are deserving players, and you have to balance, okay, this guy truly had a season worthy of most outstanding player in college football. But is this vote an echo in the wind? And I will still give a player a vote like that if they truly had a season worthy of being named most outstanding player of the year, because I don't want it to be just the best player on the most successful team when you've got a guy out there that's just absolutely, breaking the curve in terms of what his performance means on the field. And so, I get into it, man. I get into a deep dive on that.
Yeah.
You should get into it. It's
cool,
very important.
Yeah.
So, okay, Chip, so the Horns got Washington coming up, and you just mentioned their quarterback, the lefty. He had a hell of a season up there. They're coming in to play Texas in the Alamo Dome. I know you're probably tired of making that trip to San Antonio, like a lot of us are tired of seeing Horns play in this bowl game. But what can you expect 3 weeks from now when they play on the 29th of December?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this game. I mean, I hope that Texas doesn't have a lot of opt-outs outside of, maybe Bijan and maybe Roschon. But, because you got DeMarvion Overshown getting ready for the Senior Bowl. He hasn't said what's going on yet. But I think this is going to be a great matchup of that Texas defense and how well it's played this season, the turnaround story of the Longhorns in 2022 against a team that loves to throw the football and has 2,000-yard receivers and a quarterback with swag coming out of his swag. And so I think this is going to be one of the better bowl games of the season. And I was like, man, it's a remote chance that Washington will end up in the Alamo Bowl, because obviously Utah would have to beat USC. And then that happened. And And so, you've got Utah going to the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl is probably going to take Washington, and so now Washington's going to the Alamo Bowl. And it's I don't mind going to the Alamo Bowl. I know Texas fans are ready for another trip to the Sugar, but that's the thing. It is the number 2 bowl selection for the Big 12 if they don't have a team in the college football playoff. Whoever goes to the Sugar is the league champion usually, and then the Alamo Bowl picks. And so it's I know it's like, man, how many times we played in the Alamo Bowl? It's kind of like when Mac Brown was going to the Holiday Bowl, and look, Mac's going back to the Holiday Bowl.
Oh man, I hadn't realized that. You're right.
But I have to say the Alamo Bowl does a great job. I mean, their hospitality, they put on a show, and the Christmas lights on the Riverwalk and all that stuff. So I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, I remember, Chip, when it changed, when it went from, the Alamo Bowl used to be slotted down the pecking order a little bit. I remember when it slotted up at the time. I knew a couple people that were associated with the bowl, and I remember thinking that's going to be a tough sell because that bowl's going to feel the way in your head that it feels. But you're right. It has changed into, no, this is a really good team from the Big 12 playing a really good team from the Pac-12. But I just don't know that argument will ever sit right with certain fan bases, but specifically with a fan base that carries, what Texas fans carry.
Right. And I get it. I mean, look, Texas hasn't, they went to the Sugar Bowl in 2018, and that was awesome. Oklahoma went to the college football playoff and allowed Texas to go to the Sugar, and that was a great win. Obviously Texas hasn't been able to sustain that momentum, and Sarkisian, with the way he's putting together recruiting classes, he's fortifying the offensive and defensive lines through recruiting. The quarterback position is essential. Look at Washington, 4-8 to 10-2. Look at TCU. Look at Max Duggan, from a 5-7 team to undefeated and playing in the college football playoff. So, the hope is that the 8-4 season turns into a 9-4 season for Texas, and the progress and the momentum continues to where Sarkisian stacks another recruiting class, a foundation type class, and Texas gets to where they can sustain success instead of constantly, going up and down. And so, I get the whiplash of Texas fans. I totally get it because, look, no one sees the fan, relates to the fan more than the communicator of the message from, their beloved football team to the fan. And often, here's the disgruntled stuff. But I think there were some big steps taken. We've talked about this a little bit. The defense being first and foremost. I mean, enormous. It's going from a sieve, really, 200 yards rushing per game, 5.2 yards per carry to, 31 points per game to 20, right around 20 points per game, 3.5 a carry. It was a really, and leading the nation in quarterback pressures. I mean, that's a lot of kudos to that Texas defensive staff.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of improvement, Chip. Let me ask you this. With USC losing in championship week last week and TCU losing to Kansas State, are you good with Ohio State being at that number 4 spot playing Georgia?
Yeah. I mean, that was tough. It looked like we were going to have some really interesting new blood up there knocking on that door. Heck, Tennessee, North Carolina for a minute before they fell off at the end. But, Ohio State, I'm not shocked. And, LSU fizzled late. So, the Big Ten is weird because you in the East, you you're going to be the better team. You don't know who you're facing from the West and if you're facing the best teams, but Ohio State, their pedigree gets them in, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think that one made sense. Chip, before we let you go, any thought on the Texas basketball team? I wouldn't call it an out-and-out collapse last night. That didn't feel like that, but it did feel like to me they had the game and it got away from them. Do you have a simple way to explain why?
Well, Illinois got hot. I mean, they seized on a few missed shots and a turnover. Texas had been punching them pretty good, playing really good defense, and then there were 3 missed shots in a row and a turnover, and it turned into a 10-2 run for Illinois. And you give a team with that much talent and depth a sense of belief, and then the momentum turned. And, the killer is, Tyrese Hunter is a guy who's been so good, and he's going to be part of what I think is one of, if not the best backcourts in college basketball this season. Him missing the front end of that 1-and-1 with 21 seconds left. He's a 92.3% free throw shooter. It shouldn't have come down to that. And then, Jabari Rice, who's rarely makes mistakes. He's usually, again, part of the solution. Late in games, blitzing that ball screen, falling into Jaden Epps, fouling with 7.6 seconds left. I mean, those were just some, are you kidding me? And then, for Carr to take that shot instead of dishing it to Rice, who was wide open for a 3 there at the end. I think guys were trying hard, and but they're going to learn from this. And I think Chris Beard learned some stuff about who should be handling the ball at the point late in that kind of situation. And you got to see that to learn it. And Texas got a taste of it last night.
That is Chip Brown. Check out horns247.com, the flagship podcast that he's a part of. Of course, our man Jeff Howe is a part of that Longhorn Blitz podcast. That'll come up for you tonight at 9 after our Flex event. Well, on the high school side of things, also check out the Morning Brew article from Chip. They got great stuff for you at horns247.com, at Chip Brown 247 on Twitter. And yes, he even found time to vote for the Heisman Trophy. He's a busy man. Thanks, Chip. We appreciate it. Have a good week.
All right, talk to you next week, guys.
Good,
Thanks,
good stuff as always. Yeah, there are years where I envy people like Chip because they have Heisman votes. This isn't one of them, though, Zay.
No.
This is an ugly Heisman to vote for. I wasn't going to make Chip, bad mouth the Heisman or whatever. This is one of those years where I might, if they let me, I'd just send in a blank one and say, you know what, y'all figure it out. I none of these guys feel like a Heisman winner.
Oh, I'm going Billy Bob Thornton. Ain't no curses. Coin flip. Max Duggan or Caleb Williams. Max Duggan heads. Caleb Williams tails. Like, that's where I'm at. I mean, I just Caleb Williams. He had a good season, yes, but that team at the end and just his FU for the team, the fingernails thing, and Max Duggan about to pass out. It's between those two, but it's a tough year.
I don't feel Heisman coming out of any of those 4 guys. We'll see what happens on Saturday. All right, coming up, it's Why Today Matters. December 7th holds a special place for those history buffs. We'll get into that, but also we got a big birthday in the basketball world. I want to get Zay's thoughts on one of the greatest of all time that has a birthday today. Is he on Zay's Mount Rushmore? Is he in his starting 5? Where does it Where does it all fall? We'll find out next on The Horn. All right, this is Chad talking Underdog Fantasy. Easiest place to play fantasy football. It just feels too easy this week with the pick'em games. There's got to be a cowboy or two that I can put together in a pick'em game with that Texans matchup coming and be able to win, right? It's got to be It always seems that easy. Pick whether your favorite player will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's game. Oh, I feel like it's a higher week for those Cowboys. For your chance to win big, you can win up to 20 times your money in a single game. Just pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. All you need to do is make sure you're picking guys from 2 different teams. Can't just pick 2 Cowboys. They won't let you do that. You got to have somebody from at least 2 different teams. Build that pick'em entry, get them all right, and you win. Check out the pick insurance option, which gets you a better chance to win. Check out those rivals picks. There's all kinds of different things to do. It is so much fun. I've really enjoyed doing it. I've got it on my phone. If this old man can get it put on the phone, you can go to the App Store and do it too. Sign up today with the promo code HORN. Get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Just visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with my promo code HORN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. It's the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Get you a pick'em game going today at Underdog Fantasy. All right, it is Wednesday, rolling through December the 7th. We'll get to why today matters. Should I know it, Zay?
Yes or no? Yeah.
Are we in the state of Texas?
No.
All right, I don't know.
Rick Ross, T-Pain, I'm a boss.
Rick Ross and T-Pain.
Yeah, he just said Ross right there.
No,
You missed it.
dadgummit. I just did. They got to do it early. Do it early.
See, I think he
man.
did it pretty early, and I let it pass because I wanted you to guess.
Yeah,
He
see,
said T-Pain's name. I feel like he said his name.
he may have said T-Pain. Okay, all right. Sadly, in this realm, I am the 47-year-old white man that knows that T-Pain won the first season of Masked Singer, but I was unable to identify this song. That's sad.
Wow. How do you win?
It's a lot of sadness.
Masked Singer.
You are the last one left. They come down to two, and then whichever one they think sings best wins, and then that other one has to take their mask off, and at the very end, the ultimate winner takes their mask off, and that was T-Pain the first season.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Ah.
My girls are highly addicted to this show. I'm not. I just usually pass through, and I've been able to guess a couple. In fact, I can't remember if I told the story on air when I was able to guess Chris Jericho. I was walking through the kitchen, and
He was a Masked Singer?
yeah, and I heard this voice. It was he was in it was a pink dinosaur dressed as a bride to kind of throw people off or whatever. But as soon as I heard the voice, I said, that's Chris Jericho from wrestling.
Huh.
And AEW, of course, shout out to AEW coming to town tonight. But yeah, and then they took the mask off, and there he was.
Okay, I always thought it was you got to fool one of the judges or whatnot. You got to make them think you're not who you're supposed to be. And if you keep doing that, you end up winning somehow.
No. It's just about if you're the best of the singers and you get to the end and then the judges try to guess who you are. And I don't even know if that's really for anything other than their ego.
See,
you just get to the end and then they'll all guess. Like when Jericho went home, all four of the judges guessed something completely different than Chris Jericho, and then it was Chris Jericho, and then he left, and that was it.
See, T-Pain, that's kind of a cheat because majority of his songs are auto-tuned, especially the popular ones. He could really sing now, but you can't pick T-Pain unless if it's auto-tune. Then you're probably wondering, who the hell is this? This could be Kanye, T-Pain. Drake's done auto-tune at times.
Yeah.
So when he really sings, nobody knows who the hell that is.
That probably is why he was so good at it.
Yeah.
So maybe why he was able to
that's an easy victory for him.
advance through. All right, so Rick Ross and T-Pain. We had Lips Incorporated earlier. Yeah, you know which song. Razor, Van Morrison, and David Bowie got us started back in the first hour. It is December 7th, kids. We'll tell you why that matters in a second. Let me remind you, we've got the All Flex Finalist event this afternoon and into tonight at the 360 and 2222 location of Waterloo Ice House. The players can come by and grab their certificates, get that food special that Clayton's got for them. That's for all students presenting a student ID. And then 7 to 9, Snoop and Zach and the Flex crew will be on air with a special edition of Wednesday Night Flex. That means our normal Wednesday shows will push down a little bit. 9 o'clock for the Longhorn Blitz podcast, 10 o'clock for Fight Night, 11 o'clock for Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. And be sure to come join us tomorrow. Drop by Total Men's Primary Care up in Georgetown tomorrow. We're going to be doing the toy drive. Toys for Tots bring new unwrapped toys to help kids this Christmas. Make sure they've got some toys under the tree. That's for newborns all the way up to 12 is what they're shooting for there. So come see us tomorrow for a Thursday show. Let's go Why Today Matters. It is December 7th. All right, some dates you remember, some dates you don't. When we get to this time of year, there's December 7th and Pearl Harbor, and then tomorrow, December 8th, is the tragic death of a couple of musicians for me. But today is Pearl Harbor Day. I say it all the time, and now there's less and less of these folks around, unfortunately. But if you know someone who is from that World War II generation, the World War II Depression generation, if you can sit them down and talk to them, do it. Ask them questions. Find out about their life. It is an incredibly interesting time period in American history. And back in the day, I got to do a report on my granddad who served during World War II. It's just fascinating stuff. But Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, obviously a massive day in the history of this country.
Yeah, very massive. I mean, I don't like to get into it too much because that makes me shed a tear. And
Oh, yeah.
I don't like to think of sad stuff, but yeah, all our troops out there that served. And I haven't talked to any former World War II veterans, but yeah, I'm sure that's an experience. And I couldn't even imagine going through that during that era.
Yeah, and shout out to all those vets out there. Thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
No matter what branch, no matter what war, no matter how long you serve, thank you for your service. You could be serving right now, active military. We thank you all. Army, Navy coming up on Saturday. The incredible uniforms, we broke those down. They're going to look sharp. We'll see how they play in Philadelphia on Saturday. All right, Zay, we come to the birthday that I want to get your thoughts on. He is one of the great basketball players of all time. I just want to know how far up your list he is. Today is 66 for the Hick from French Lick. Larry Bird with a birthday today. How high up your list as a basketball guy is Larry Bird?
Oh, man. He's not on Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Not in the starting five, but he's on the squad. So if I had to
on
put
the bench?
Yeah, he's coming off the bench.
Coming off the bench.
He's coming off the bench. He's spotting up, lighting everybody up with that beautiful behind-the-head jumper that he had.
Because if you
three-time MVP, back-to-back-to-back, 84 through 86. He was that dude, man. He talked more mess than anybody would ever thought.
Yes, he
somebody
did.
like looking like him would ever talk mess. For small forwards, there's Bron, there's Larry Bird, there's Kevin Durant and Scottie Pippen. That's for me, for small forwards of all time. So he's right behind Bron, barely though. I think his team was super stacked.
And plus, in your all-time game, all-time team discussion, if you do bring him off the bench and you need somebody to handle the ball, Larry could do that for you, too.
He was such a good passer.
Right?
He dropped dimes. He definitely had great ball handling skills. And people forget he was 6'10". So you go look at his statistics. He had a lot of 9 rebound years, 10 rebound years. Larry, yeah, he was a jack of all trades. Had a horrible back, though.
Oh, it was terrible. That's what took him out. That's what took him out in the early 90s. Yeah, he wasn't able to finish like he wanted to because of that back. I can remember watching the early part of that kind of golden age of dunk contest and three-point contest when you've got Jordan and Neek involved in the dunk contest and you got Larry involved in those first three-point contests, the one where he throws up the last one and puts the one up in the air because he knew he was nailing it. Just his wonderful ego came out in that competition, and then Craig Hodges and he had the battles. I never missed those two events every year, and he was big. And I've said it before, Lakers and Celtics, I was always a Lakers guy. They were just cool and flashy and awesome, and frankly, the Celtics guys, they just didn't do it for me. That just something about it, the green, and it was like, it just didn't do anything.
Oh, I love the stories on Larry Bird. You mentioned those three-point shootouts he used to win. I heard he went, speaking of him talking mess to guys, he went back in the locker room during that whole All-Star weekend and went to all the three-point contestants' locker room and said, yo, which one of you guys getting second tonight?
Yeah. Oh,
because he knew he was going to win it.
That was him.
Yeah. But those Celtics teams with Dennis Johnson and Danny Ainge, I don't think people give Kevin McHale enough credit. Like, Kevin McHale was unstoppable.
Yeah.
Some of the best footwork you're ever going to see. I don't think people give Robert Chief Parrish enough credit for what he did for those teams. I don't think people give Bill Walton enough credit for what he did in that 86 season, putting them over the hump.
He went those feet falling apart.
Completely falling apart. We're talking about Odell Beckham not making physical.
Right.
Supposedly he didn't make physical, and Red Auerbach was smoking a cigar and said, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn about this physical. He's playing for us. And people think that the 86 Celtics team is one of the best to ever do it. So Larry for sure deserves his love, but he played with a lot of Hall of Famers too. That definitely helped him succeed out there.
No doubt. Larry is one of the best. Definitely one of the best leaders I've ever seen in basketball. One of the best, the effort, the fire. I loved rooting against him, but he's one of those guys I respect the hell out of him and what he was. Those Celtics teams were very, very good. It always felt good to me when a team I was rooting for could get by them. whoever it was. It was a year where a Hawks team figured out how to. I think got him in a 3 out of 5. And then there was, of course, when the Pistons got over him and finally got it figured out. Or when it was in the finals and the Lakers did. Heck, I can still remember when the Rockets got by him. The year that they ended up, is that right? Where the Rockets
lost to them in '86.
When the Rockets lost to them. What am I thinking of? There's somebody else.
The Bucks beat them early in the '80s.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of when the Rockets got by the Lakers to get to the Celtics. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone could get to the finals that wasn't the Celtics and the Lakers in the early part of my life. So I remember that. Yeah, and then they went on, and Bird and his guys still got by that Rockets team, even though they were able to beat the Lakers. Yeah,
people
Larry
say if Ralph Sampson didn't get into that fight in that '86 finals, the Rockets would have won it. A lot of people think that. I don't. I think the Rockets would have. Yeah, I think the Celtics would have handled their business, but Hakeem, maybe he was Akeem back then. I don't know or remember. But him and Ralph Sampson, which Ralph Sampson was like Giannis before Giannis, 7'4", put the ball on the deck, could shoot, but coaches didn't like that. Back in the 80s, get your ass on the block.
Right.
Get your ass in the post. If you ain't doing no jump hook, then we ain't playing you. So Ralph Sampson was like, I'm more skilled out here. I can do more onto the table. I can put more out there for you guys. Nope. I don't know who was coaching the Rockets back then, but they weren't having it. Ralph Sampson, he could have really been Giannis before Giannis, but
that's a good point.
I'm with you. I don't know how they got past those Lakers teams, but I want to say Sidney Moncrief and Terry Cummins, those really good Bucks teams back then, they used to make it tough for Celtics too.
Yeah, they had some good battles. I used to love watching those games, man. Happy 66 to Larry Bird. That's Indiana State, kids, if you don't know the old school there. Also, Terrell Owens is 49 years old today. That's another great old school if people don't know that one. Terrell Owens, Hall of Famer. Very good. Tennessee Chattanooga for T.O.
Where are we ranking T.O.?
Oh, T.O.
Like, people love to put T.O. above guys like Chris Carter and Tim Brown and stuff, and I don't know.
No, I wouldn't do that. I'm just trying. All-time receivers, like...
But I feel like if you look at T.O.'s stats, they might be better than those two guys I just named.
The man's got stats. There's no doubt about that. What about back into the top 10, just off the top of my head?
Okay.
I wouldn't probably
when things slow down a little bit, we get into the summer. We need to really look at that.
I don't know if he's top 5 of everything.
Nah,
but in his prime when he was a badass. There's no doubt.
Who we taking? T.O. Megatron before we get out of here. Before we go to break. Who we taking career wise?
That's got to be T.O.
Got to be T.O.
Yeah, that's got to be T.O.
Okay.
And what he almost pulled off in that Super Bowl is superhuman.
On a broken leg.
A shattered ankle or whatever it was that day, and they almost figured that out. I would have hated to see it because I hate the Eagles. But if they could have figured that one out with Donovan McNabb sick and throwing up during the game and him with that ankle, that would have been an all-time Super Bowl victory.
Donovan should have got that chunky soup and had Mama feed it to him at halftime. They would have beat the Patriots, I think. Do you remember how bad those commercials were with Mama? Chunky soup, we need to bring those back. Sean McVay, I'm not, that doesn't make me want to get no soup.
No.
Bring back
these
quarterbacks with their mama in the commercial. That's real stuff right there.
That is what you need. What we need nowadays, we need all these guys with their attractive ladies with them. There's so many guys in the NFL that have attractive ladies connected to them, whether it's their mom, their sister, their wife, their whatever. Let's get them in commercials. Let's go.
Oh, I saw Max Duggan, his girl. He was at the Dallas Mavericks game the other night. He's doing very well. And Max Duggan looks like a low-key serial killer.
How do we not have Sierra trying to tell Russell that to turn it around in Denver, he needs some chunky soup? How do we not have that commercial? I would want to see that. That's why December 7th matters to us. Coming up, we will get you some stems and seeds, and boy, are there a lot of them out there, including NFL notes and including some serious money being spent in baseball. Yes, the judge is staying right in his courtroom. This is The Horn. All right, this is Chad talking Twin Peaks. Let me give you a couple ideas with Twin Peaks. First off, how about the party packs? Don't sweat the extra guests. Twin Peaks has party packs for you. That's family-sized meals, complete with an entree, choice of side, house salad, and buttered rolls for $4. It's a perfect way to enjoy Twin Peaks from home. It's available to order online, and you can pick it up, or you can get it delivered straight to you. Also, if you're a soccer freak, you know the World Cup is going on. We're down to the quarterfinals. Every game is out at Twin Peaks. Get to your favorite lodge location. Every match of the World Cup is there. They'll open early for the early games. They've got you covered this coming Friday and Saturday for those quarters, so get on out there. The classic brunch, the drinks, the scratch-made favorites, all out there for you. Also, don't forget those holiday bonus cards. Get a Twin Peaks gift card in store through December 24th, and you'll score a bonus card for yourself that is valid in January. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, scenic views, Stastny, San Marcos, and Round Rock. TwinPeaksRestaurant.com. Just about to wrap it up on a Wednesday. I like it. Should I know it?
No chance.
No chance?
Zero
chance at all.
Yeah.
Man.
He's not new, but he's still going. He's still young. He's newish.
Hang on.
Way new for you.
Okay, hold on. I had a name in my head when it started. I was going to make you laugh. Now, what was it? Oh, man. Dadgum. It was, what was I about to say? Nah, I just lost it. All right, tell me who it is.
Big Sean.
Big Sean. That's not what I was going to say. I was going to make you laugh, though, but give it with some guess. No, I can't think of what it was. All right. Big Sean, Rick Ross, and T-Pain, Lips Inc., Razor, Van Morrison, David Bowie, all on the show today. We had a nice beat from EPMD to start the hour. Thanks to Zay for all that great music. Thanks to you for all the great texts we had today. Longhorn fans trying to break down what happened last night at Madison Square Garden. That's the other angle of it for me. If I was a Texas fan, you just always want to get a win if you can there at MSG. Could have been some nice momentum to continue. You'd have had the win against Gonzaga and Creighton and then that one, and just didn't happen. Zay, I think I agree with you overall. A little bit of out-coaching probably from Underwood to Beard. Not that that's embarrassing. Underwood's a badass coach, but probably a couple of adjustments there that ended up better on Illinois' side. They made plays. Texas did not make the key plays down the stretch, and it just was – there was that time frame where you just kept thinking, okay, this is too close. It's too close. Something's coming. And finally, Shannon woke up. A little bit. He didn't have a crazy good game, but you just felt like, okay, if this dude doesn't end with 4 points, he's going to get going at some point. What's the score when he gets going? And unfortunately for Texas, it was only about a 6 or 8 point game when he got going.
Yep. After that Marcus Carr bucket in the lane to put it 67-62, you come back down on the other end. Sir'Jabari Rice overly helps to allow a Jaden Epps 3-ball. Now it's 67-65. Tyrese Hunter gets fouled, misses a free throw. And we talked about yesterday, Chad, New York City, Madison Square Garden, bright lights, big city. Even if you're a 90% free throw shooter, whether it was the cramp issues or not, that's still big time pressure for anybody in that circumstance at the Garden. Missed the free throw. They come back on the other end. Sir'Jabari Rice, terrible foul. Jaden Epps hits both free throws. Chris Beard does not call the timeout with 7 seconds left. Allows Marcus Carr take a horrible shot, contested shot with TJ Shannon guarding him, and then find the line I put up 17 to your 10 in overtime. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, that was a rough ending there because basically Carr just kind of dribbled into a bar fight, and was it Rice that was out there on the wing ready for a pass?
Yeah.
Somebody was out there kind of, I felt like that was.
I took a picture. I literally have that picture in my phone of was he open. There's like 1.7 seconds left where I thought he should have threw Sir'Jabari Rice the ball instead of taking that Levi shot.
But there was a guy out there, wasn't there?
Kind of. That guy, Jaden Epps, he helps more on Marcus Carr than he does getting out to Sir'Jabari Rice.
Okay. All right, let's get some stems and seeds before we get out of here. We'll start with the Cowboys and OBJ.
No stress, no seeds, no stems, no sticks.
Brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. Clarence Hill, Fort Worth Star-Telegram, tweets out today, Jerry Jones says the Cowboys are still working on it with Odell Beckham. That's from about 2:15 or so. So maybe it's not done. Maybe they're not going to give as much guaranteed money, but the Cowboys are concerned about that physical part of things. Speaking of football, another guy headed to the pros and not playing the bowl game, Notre Dame's Michael Mayer, the stud tight end. He is not going to play in the Gator Bowl against South Carolina. He will head to the pros. We've already mentioned a couple of the guys making that decision.
Yeah, he's a top 5 tight end in the nation. That's a smart move.
Yeah, that's probably a smart move. Mentioned earlier, A&M's Devon Achane is also going into the draft. He does not have a bowl game to figure out, obviously, but he is going to go pro. Baseball-wise, Aaron Judge going to stay with the Yankees, $360 million over 9 years. Good Lord. Cody Bellinger going to the Cubs, 1 year, $17.5 million. Philadelphia is going to add Taijuan Walker from the Mets and Trey Turner from the Dodgers. Good grief, Philly. And then the Major League Baseball draft lottery happened yesterday. First time they've ever done this. The Pirates win it. They'll pick first, then Washington, then Detroit, and then my Texas Rangers will pick fourth in the next baseball draft. Kenley Jansen, they're working out a deal to get him in Boston, 2 years, $32 million. He, of course, was with Atlanta last year and the Dodgers before that. And then some football notes. There's a lot of them. Von Miller with the torn ACL, out for the rest of the year for Buffalo. Jimmy G might be able to come back in the playoffs with that foot injury. No surgery required there. College football, Purdue needs a new head coach. Jeff Brom is going back to his alma mater, Louisville. For those of you that are my age or older, you remember Jeff Brom. He's now going to be the coach at Louisville. Remember, Scott Satterfield went to Cincinnati. So now Purdue needs a new coach. Jake Spavital, congratulations. He's headed up to Cal as their OC. And big congrats to Sonny Dykes. Apparently, he's going to get an extension through 2028. He'll be among the highest paid coaches in the Big 12. They're going to pay him around $7.5 million, Zay. About $7.5 million, because that's what Gundy makes.
Yeah, I don't know if he deserves all that, but well, we'll see.
Big stuff. All right, Rod and Harge coming up. That Wednesday night flex event from 7 to 9 tonight over at Waterloo 360 and 2222. Come join us tomorrow, the toy drive at Total Men's up in Georgetown. Have yourself a good Wednesday.